Hello, how are we doing today, my friends, my family, all of our action lab rats in the world? I hope you guys are having a fantastic week. It's been a busy week, man. I'm not going to lie. The work week has really been getting to me, so I'm really glad to be able to get to the show, have some fun, unwind a little bit, and talk some sports, have a good time. We have a lot going on. Scotty, I don't know, man. It's been a big week for me at work. I need this. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. Just every day we go gets closer and closer to NFL football, so that gets me through days alone. And then the Rocks just swept the Padres, so we're 42-20 at home. We're a juggernaut. If we could play the whole season at home, we would be in contention, man. Like, we would be right there.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, we don't quite get to do that, and the road is a different story. But at home, we're feeling all good vibes, man. So closing in on, halfway through we got 2 more homestands in September after this one. So closing in on the end of the season, and then already starting, planning and stuff for next year. So, but it's been a good week.
Yeah, man. No, it's definitely, baseball is getting to be that. You had the hunt for October coming up here soon, so that's going to be a big thing. So we'll be talking a little bit about that further once we get closer to the playoff picture shaping up. It's coming down the stretch here, so we're going to get into that as well. But, we have a lot to talk about tonight. We have all of your NFC and AFC South coverage and preview coming up here. Maybe some predictions on who we think is going to take that division. And then we also have all of our fantasy football wrap-up, where we are going to cover every single detail you need to know about tight ends, defense, special teams, and kickers. Now, I will say that Scotty has been just teasing it over the course of the last week and a half about how he has the biggest tight end. Well, not tight end. Well, I should have not stopped there.
It's actually kicker. It's actually kicker. That's the key to your fantasy league. It's kicker.
And you do have the biggest tight end too. So maybe.
Yeah, no, listen, I know I've been hyping this, my biggest key in fantasy this year. I feel like it's pretty straightforward. I don't think it's that hard for people to figure out, but it doesn't seem like everyone's putting it together. So I'm going to piece it together for you guys. I'm going to throw out some numbers and why I feel this way. So, it's not part of it just being, listen, it's not even one player. It's focusing on either big or weight at the tight end position. We'll dive into that later. NFL wise, we got our last two divisions to preview. So we got NFC and AFC South divisions to preview. That includes the defending world champs, unfortunately, the Tampa Bay Bucks. There was a mistake in that Super Bowl where the wrong team won, but things happen. So we're going to dive into that. But yeah, we want to casually talk about a few other things as well before we dive into all that. Because there's a lot going on right now. Like, we're not in a dead period. We get, like you talked about, baseball is coming down the stretch. Some other things that happen, NBA has got through free agency and stuff like that. We just got through summer league, but they made a big announcement yesterday. College football is coming up. Like, things are happening.
Yeah. No, we have a lot going on in the world, and it's going to be fun, man. We're going to dive into all of this. And we started out with our water cooler cuz obviously we've been really packing our shows. We only have a couple hours that we're on live with you guys, so we have had to put the rundown a little bit on the side burner and maybe do some quick hits with the water cooler, which is a new feature we brought out last week, and I feel like a lot of people got a kick out of it. So we're going to bring that back one more week, and if you guys want to keep it around, great. We'll keep it. If you want to go back to the rundown, we still need some names for that kind of stuff because we need your input. We want to make this show better. By the way, I just want to do a quick tidbits of information here before we get going. You got to get all the little pieces of business out of the way first. One, I want to say we are live on Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube. So if you are watching on any of these platforms, make sure you hit that follow button. Make sure you hit that like button so that we know exactly who you are and when we're going live. And you can be a part of each and every show. It doesn't cost you anything, and it means a lot to us. And we can have you as part of the family for absolutely free. Oh, man. How many... those commercials? Free. That's what we're talking about here. And so join us, have some fun, throw some comments in the chat. We already have a couple followers when we were offline, and that was Flower Love in Facebook and Landon Meyer 12, who just followed right before the show kicked off. So thank you guys so much for hitting those follow buttons. We're already a third of the way to our follower goal tonight, and we just need two more. That is, by the way, we're 6 straight shows. Is it 6 or 5?
It seems like it might be 10. So I'm going to just believe you on 6.
All I'm going to say is 6. We have 6 straight shows with a follower, and it is fantastic. We are growing at a crazy rate, one at a time. But we're having a great time seeing all of you guys.
One at a time is all that matters. We build and build, and we're going to have you guys telling your friends about us. I feel good about this. Like, we're ready to dive into all this sports world, and we're going to have a good time. Like, if you need something light and fun, and you can say whatever is on your mind.
Anything.
I promise it's impossible to offend me. I'll be offended by your takes, but I will not be offended to the point where I'm upset. So
that's true.
I might come back at you.
That's true.
Or I might agree with you. And if I agree with you, you're brilliant. So
here's the thing. If he comes back at you, you got his attention, and you're about to have a nice little conversation. So, hey, love it. Love it. Well, let's dive in. We have some things to talk about, and let's jump into the water cooler. The water cooler is, what do you do when you get to work at the first part of the day? You kind of go to the water cooler. You start talking some stories of, what's going on in the world, maybe some sports, maybe some news. That's what we're here for. Before we get into business, we got to get the little things out of the way, and that's why we're here in the water cooler, and we have some stories for you guys. First of all, and honestly, Scotty, there's so many stories here to jump in on, but maybe I just start out with, Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow is one of those stories that came out this week. If you don't follow our Twitch, our TikTok, hit us.
Or Instagram.
TikTok.
It was on both.
It was on both. TikTok and Instagram. Follow us on our socials. You'll get all the fun content. Maybe we'll show him at the end of the show. Maybe I'll bring him up during our break here after our first segment. But Tim Tebow, his attempt at a return of an NFL season has ended. After years of playing quarterback, he came back as a Jacksonville Jaguar and wanted to try it out at tight end, and he did not exactly succeed. He posted a message shortly after he was released, which, thanked the Jaguars for, highs and lows, opportunities, setbacks. He threw all that stuff in a tweet and said, thank you to the Jags for giving me a chance. But the writing was on the wall. He signed a 1-year contract with the Jags on May 20th as a tight end. Didn't look out of place really, that much until you saw him in this last game in the preseason, missing blocks, looking weak on the offensive line. It was not great. And Urban Meyer had to do something I'm sure he wasn't happy to do. And that was cut his boy that he knew back at Florida. They grew a relationship together. And it's done, man. It's done. No more Tebow. No more Urban Meyer, combo going on here. The experiment is over, and this is it. This is one of the honestly, what's crazy is this is the story at a Jags camp. That's the biggest story. Forget Trevor Lawrence. Forget Urban Meyer and how this was the biggest story, which is saying something.
Yeah, obviously Tebow is a presence. People, you either love him or hate him. There's very few that are indifferent on Tim Tebow. They're passionate. Listen, Tim Tebow has done nothing wrong here. The people that are like, he should have never been on this roster in the first place. He stole, someone else's ability to make this roster. This is ridiculous. And I'm like, come on. If that person who's waiting in the wings isn't in any other training camp, no other team wanted him, then I'm pretty sure he wasn't that person, that individual that he stole a spot from in training camp wasn't going to make the roster. Now, what he did was a service to all the individuals who are your tight end, your blocking tight ends, your H-backs, your not H-backs, but your backs that kind of like can block out of the backfield, fullbacks, things of that nature. Did a service to them in the sense that like he showed everyone through this preseason game and the clips that you saw how difficult that can be. Listen, you can be strong, you can be built, you can have all these things, but without technique and the proper ability to do these things, you're nothing. And he kind of proved that. So if anything, he helped prove how difficult that position is, and you can't take that position for granted when you need an inline blocker that's added as a tight end that can every once in a while, on a play action fake, split into the flat and catch a ball or something. So you have to at least trust him on that. But Deb in the chat, awesome individual and motivational speaker. Absolutely. Like for everyone that hates Tim Tebow, I don't know what there is to hate. You may not like that he throws out the religion, all the time and things like that, but like he holds to it. But he's genuine. He seems genuine. He seems overtly nice and kind. He seems like he's has the best interest of anyone he's played with. From all reports, he's a great teammate, always has been. Like, so hating on him based off that is a weird thing, obviously, to me. Listen, was he a great quarterback in the NFL? Of course not. Has he got some opportunities maybe that he wouldn't have otherwise because of his popularity? Maybe. But right now, the only fit I see for him, I think he's done in the NFL, but I think the Mets might need another at bat. Or they need somebody inserted into that lineup. Could he go back to the Mets? I mean, I know he's in the minor league system, and the Mets are drowning right now. So let's throw him back and let's get a batter in there. Their owner, did you see? And I don't know if you were going to bring this up actually, because we were going to talk about baseball, but the Mets owner is basically like tweeting about how bad the hitters have been on the Mets these last like month or so. It's crazy. I've never seen an owner do that like on a social media platform like that.
Well, they did get a win today, 6-2 versus the Giants. So they did correct it a little bit, but it was an extra innings. So it took them a whole game and then some to get back on track there. So, my second favorite team, the Mets, are, they're trying to find themselves. They're working out the kinks right before the season's over. So, it's like in the NFL or NBA, you lose a couple weird games to kind of like wake you up a little bit. Like the Olympic basketball team, they needed that loss to Australia, and they needed to have that little motivation. That's what I phrase it as.
What you're literally convincing yourself. 'Cause I'm pretty sure when they made this trade at all the trades at the trade deadline to help their team, they were in first place in the NL East. And last time I looked, they're now in third place.
They're behind Mayday's Phillies, unfortunately. Look at that. Mayday's Phillies have all of a sudden surged back and have retaken the Mets. Is that the Mets losing ground or the Phillies making ground? I think it's
the Mets losing.
Yeah.
The Mets were 8 games over on July 25th. They were 52-44, and now they are 60-60 after a win today. So they've gone 8 and 16 in their last 24 games. They are not hitting the ball. The Mets are a train wreck right now after making obviously a lot of big deadline deals. Like, this wasn't what was supposed to happen.
No, it's kind of concerning. I'm a little worried. We'll see how they end up correcting the ship here, but it's going to be, it's not great. It's not great. Another topic I wanted to bring up here is the massive. All right. You knew me last season. I got a text. ESPN update. NBA Christmas game was, or schedule was released. I texted you instantly how stoked I was about how the Nuggets finally have gotten to the point where they get a Christmas game.
Mm-hmm.
I go back today and I get the updated schedule. Actually, it was yesterday. I get the updated schedule, trying to see, all right, who do the Nuggets play this year? And to my surprise, we have 0 games on this schedule. We have, all right, let's go through let's just run it down. I'm upset. The disrespect.
That can't be. Like, they had one last year, and then we have the MVP of the league.
The disrespect. I feel like Rodney Dangerfield right now. The disrespect. Like, that's how I feel right now. It's absolutely atrocious. I don't know what the NBA is thinking here. So, all right, they had the Bucks and the Celtics coming in the first game of the Mavericks. Wait, no. Let's see. The noon. We got the Hawks and the Knicks at the noon Eastern time, so 10 o'clock time slot. Hawks and Knicks. I would take the Nuggets over either of those teams all day, every day. Those teams aren't sexy to watch. The Knicks, you got Spike Lee on the sidelines looking like a clown.
It's all New York market with the Knicks. And
unbelievable.
The Hawks are Trae Young and then just dudes.
It's absolutely ridiculous. So then you have, let's see, the rest of the slate here. You have Bucks Celtics. Celtics haven't really been relevant in the last year and a half, and they're not going to look good this year.
I think they added your boy Dennis Schroeder.
Oh my gosh, Dennis Schroeder's lucky he got what he got money-wise. It's crazy. The Bucks Celtics, that's not even going to be a fun matchup to watch. Bucks will probably take that game, and Celtics aren't even going to be good this year, in my opinion. They're going to be in the bottom tier of that playoff rankings. Next, you got Mavericks Jazz. Could be a decent game. I don't know. I mean, you got Luka Doncic on national television. Obviously, that's you always want to see him. And then you have the Jazz, overrated for me.
I think that's the nightcap, though. That's the last game.
That's the last game. Yeah, I'm not going in order here. Then you got Suns Warriors. Suns Warriors. Like, all right, Steph Curry's coming back. That's great. But I mean, you got a little bit of appeal there.
Steph and
Clay, Suns,
Splash Bros. I get it. Suns made the NBA Finals. They did sweep us last year in the playoffs.
It's fine. It's fine. I get Nets late. You have to have Nets Lakers. That's a given.
Oh, Nets Lakers
that's blockbuster. You have to have that.
So everyone's gonna watch that game.
But man, I mean, to leave. So Nikola Jokic is the first MVP to not get into a Christmas Day game the next year since 2008. Dirk Nowitzki, I don't know. I guess the NBA doesn't like their international all-stars. enough. I mean, they obviously, you could say Giannis, he's won a couple MVPs. That's a different story. They won the NBA championship last year. But, man, the disrespect.
So I think it's even worse than that. I think the last time it happened, they didn't have this many games on Christmas. They expanded in 2008 or 2009 the or the Christmas Day format to have this many games. Before, I think they just had like 2 or 3 tops on Christmas. So since they've expanded to this many games, the defending MVP has always had a Christmas Day game. Not this year, and I know you love that. I know you love it. So I'm sad for you. Did we I know we played the Clips last year, right? Did we lose? We lost. Did we lose? I feel like we lost.
Yeah, we're not great on Christmas. That's the one, like, silver lining. We're not good at national televised Christmas games as of recently. So I guess it's not the way that we'll take that. But it hurts me, man. Christmas Day is one of my favorite days to watch NBA, and to not have a team in the hunt on Christmas Day, it's kind of disappointing. It's really disappointing. So, Adam Silver, figure your shit out, and we need to get our team back on Christmas Day.
They did announce also the first 4 days of the season, the national TV matchups. We did get one of those. So our first game of the season, I think it's our first game, on October 20th. Looks like at Phoenix. We're on ESPN. So we did get at least that opening week. Now some teams I'm looking right now. There's 2 games each night on national TV from Tuesday through Friday. Some teams got 2 games, of course. Nets, Lakers, the Suns actually got 2 games as well. But we at least fit into that schedule a little bit. So the Warriors got 2 as well. They're really trying to mix this up. But it's the same teams. You got the Knicks and Bucks in there once. You got the 76ers, who don't play as well on Christmas, which is a bit of a surprise, playing in one of those. And you got the Hawks and Mavs. And then the Clippers. I don't know why the Clippers made it into one of these, because without Kawhi and selling off all their roster, that's not entertaining to watch. So I'm a little confused by the Clippers getting one of those national TV games at the start of the season. But yeah, no, it's disrespect. Denver, we're always disrespect.
Always.
Our summer league boy Bones he wasn't on the all summer league team, which I think and he's already mad about it. He's like, I'm gonna prove all these people 100% wrong. We're a team of underdogs. That's what the Nuggets are.
I'm not gonna lie.
Like, they're a team. We have the MVP of the league, and I still feel like he's disrespected.
Oh, the people are saying that he shouldn't have won last year in the first place because of injury, or he won by consolation. He deserved it, but because other things didn't happen or did happen, he got it as a result. Like, oh, he didn't earn it? Man, we're going to get on a tangent here. Bones is coming in, by the way. Bones lit up the Summer League. He's going to play this year, by the way. He will play this year for the Nuggets. He's going to get some run, and he's going to play well, I think. Man, can you imagine I love that.
He's got a little like Jamal Crawford in him for me.
He has
got a little Jamal Crawford,
and he's got the swag to him too.
Yep.
Oh man, he's something that hasn't come out of the draft. Even like Jamal Murray and some of those other draft picks that we've had, they don't have that swag right off the bat. He's like, I got chip on my shoulder. I'm not, like, oh man, he's gonna be good. Belly, welcome back, man. Some BS, Adam Silver, I know. By the way, Belly, and I want to make a quick announcement. If you look down in our Twitch, we have Twitch About Us. If you look at the About section in our Twitch, we have a Action Lab store. Belly, you asked for it. We got it for you, my friend. This is a big announcement that we're not all about the merch, and we're not all about the whatever, but we did something for you guys. We made a little merch store so you guys can go. If you want some of the Action Lab gear, I know Scotty's got some on. I got a little bit on. We only have a couple select items in there, but feel free, jump in, take a look, browse if you like it. Throw it on your Christmas list or whatever you want. We'll have it there for you for any time you want to get some merch. Devin Cola, Belly's going shopping. It doesn't matter Doesn't much matter. They are never televised anyway. Yeah, that's the big problem with the Nuggets being in a smaller market. It kind of sucks. Belly for Prez. Bol balling in the summer league. Man, Bol.
I don't know what to think, because he must be, Malone just doesn't like the guy. Something.
There's something going on, man. Something doesn't
mentally,
feel
I think
good.
He's got to figure it out. I think he's better in a style like summer league right now, where he can just play loose and do his thing or whatnot in a more structured, intense environment. I don't know. He just hasn't got the minutes for whatever reason. Obviously, he's got the skill level, so we'll see what happens this year. But listen, I think it'd be fun to throw Bol out there still, and see what happens. At least, like, I feel like they took too long to give Michael Porter Jr. the minutes he deserved. So let's. What's the worst that can happen? Throwing Bol out there for, I don't know, 12 minutes a game.
Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of wild, man. I don't know what to think about it. Like, he didn't even seem like he wanted to be there for a little bit.
Yeah, you somebody told you that for one of the games, and I'm kind of like, I don't know. He balled out in a few others, so he did have that one bad game. But man, you're down. All right, you're down on Bol.
I love Bol. I just think he's not happy with what he's doing. He thinks he's above the summer league from what I've heard from a couple sources. I don't know if it's true. It could be completely false, but it just seems like he thinks he didn't need to be there. And I was like, okay, well, it's not the greatest attitude coming in. I love him. I want him to be good because I think he could be solid, man. But anyways, we're off topic here. We need to go back. Let's dive into some other stories here. Just Adam Silver.
We're refilling the water thing on the water cooler.
Yeah, we gotta get another water jug in the water cooler right now. We're going deep in this. Scotty, what else do you want to? What do you want to talk about? The water cooler. I think we have time for maybe one more, and then we got to move on to. We got a lot to talk about in the NFL.
I don't know. Yeah, I'll stay away from the NFL just because we're going to talk about it a lot. College football did come out with their preseason coaches poll rankings and AP rankings this week, which is sort of interesting and sort of not, because I think you could just take a picture of that poll in the top 5 and it would be like the same teams from every other year. That's the problem right now with college football. Alabama's going to be in the top 5. Clemson's going to be in the top 5. Ohio State is going to be in the top 5. So 3 of the top 5, and usually, at least to start the season, Oklahoma's in the top 5. Which I don't know how to fix it. I don't know. Maybe now that athletes can make money for themselves and their own name and rights will change and add to other rosters and make it a little more even keel where we don't see the same teams every year. But other than that, I don't know. We got soccer, U.S. national team. Number 10 in the world.
That's big,
first
man.
time in a long time.
That's big. We've been talking about this quite a bit. How the U.S. men's soccer, we saw them win the Gold Cup of late, and they looked really good. That's a lot of their young guys. It wasn't even their full roster coming out, playing some big time soccer, and beating Mexico in that Gold Cup, which just proves that we are on the upswing when it comes to getting young guys in the mix, and actually talented young guys in the mix. Not just guys that we think are going to be good, guys that are actually just performing in clutch situations. I mean, that game, if you didn't watch it, was incredible, man. I'll tell you. So the excitement and the hype around USA Soccer, to see them in the top 10, we don't see that very often, man. We haven't seen that recently in a long time. So
2006 was the last time.
2006, about the same time Dirk Nowitzki got snubbed for a Christmas game. Oh, by the way, I'm still not bitter about that. I think we're going to really get a lot of fun watching some U.S. soccer here moving forward, man. Top 10. Woo, man.
I don't think most U.S. fans of soccer probably are yeah, we're top 10, but we're not top 10. Because it's just natural to not believe that this team is on the level of the other best teams in the world like this. We passed Denmark, we passed Netherlands, Uruguay, Switzerland, Colombia, Germany, Sweden, Croatia. These are all teams behind us in the FIFA rankings, And that feels weird to say. Like Germany to be 16th and we're 10th. Like I don't even know how to feel about that. Is that real? Is it not? I mean, these are of course arbitrary rankings that only matter when they do the World Cup drawing, which we won't make it into this one. They do. There is an advantage to being one of the top 8 teams in the world because you get classified as like a top pool 1, so you don't have to face any of the other top 8 teams in the world based off those rankings. But it's exciting. We're young too. We're young. We're peaking. They're up 10 spots. They were ranked 20th in the previous rankings. No one else moved up in the top 20 more than 4 spots, and we moved up 10. So clearly things are happening. More and more guys are starting to play internationally. The confidence of these young guys isn't shook, and they're not scared, and that's the key. And we're just more skilled and play harder than we've probably ever have. So it's exciting. We got a World Cup coming up. We got qualifying starting, I think, in next month in September. So it's weird that it's starting this late. That's not normal, but man, I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I know it's going to be a lot of fun. I think we're going to be seeing some really, really fun soccer. It's going to be blowing up everybody's TV. It's going to be all over the news, and I can't wait for it. It's going to be incredible. So, yeah, man, so much stuff going on. We didn't even get to some of the topics that we wanted to touch on, but we have so much to get to here. We have a packed show. We have the best tight end information that is going to literally. We talked wide receivers, we talked quarterbacks, we talked running backs. We have one secret at tight end that kind of overshadows all of these things. We need you to hang with us because we don't want you to miss out on those. We are going to go into right now our AFC and NFC South preview, and then we're going to dive into that tight end secret that has been burning over the course of the last week and a half in our minds, trying to figure out what Scott's big fantasy football secret is, and we're going to give it to you tonight here on the Action Lab. So just hang with us. Let's talk some football. Let's have some fun. I want us to also see you in the comments, right? We want to make sure that you guys are just throwing out your opinions, your thoughts, what's going on with what you think, whether it's water cooler topics, some random things, or whether it's NFL and what you're excited for this season. By the way, as we go into this, man, I haven't exactly seen the, I need to catch up. I haven't seen any of the Hard Knocks. I've been behind. I need to really jump in.
I haven't either. And the Cowboys are like my NFC team, so I feel like I'm betraying them. But I haven't jumped in on them yet. I work some nights, so that complicates things, but that's no excuse. I got to dive in. I've heard it's okay. Like the thing I've heard the most is that like Jerry Jones ordered a McGriddle from McDonald's and then got it and then just dumped more salt on it. Like he's like, it needs more salt. And he took a salt shaker and he just dumped it on that McGriddle. And that's my best Jerry accent, so I apologize.
That's the most Texas thing I've ever heard in my life. If there's anything that represents Texas, it's getting a McGriddle and throwing a shit ton of salt on it. I don't know. It's just weird. Throw your Texas jokes, by the way. If you have some good Texas jokes, throw them in the chat. I want to see your best Texas jokes. Jerry Jones jokes. Let's have some fun with it. I mean, obviously, we're putting salt on McGriddles these days, so that's a thing.
McDonald's doesn't salt their food anymore. You got to add the salt.
Yeah, it's different, man. But let's dive in, man. We got some AFC South. Let's touch on the AFC South first. Get into it. Then we'll dive into the NFC. Cover each and every team's chances of making it out of their division. And then also we'll talk about maybe some of the key additions, subtractions, maybe some of the different aspects of their training camp, that there might be some good playoff or some preseason camp battles between some different positions. But we have a couple divisions here that we want to touch on. So let's start out AFC South. And AFC South, as far as just the odds go to win this division, we have let me pull these up real quick. Tennessee Titans are the favorite in this division, which is a no-brainer, right? Everyone knew that this was going to be the Tennessee Titans division to lose. So they are minus 135 at this FanDuel Sportsbook is where we have them currently, minus 135. So that means you have to bet $135 to win $100. So just keep that in mind. You're losing a little bit, but you know you're betting on the favorite. You know you have a good chance of winning. The rest of the odds throughout the division, Indianapolis Colts are second place in this, plus 175. The Jags are plus 600 with their rookie quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. And the Houston Texans, the lowly Houston Texans, come in at a whopping fourth, plus 2,300, plus 2,300. I would say that's not great value, even if you win, because it's not going to happen. It's great. I guess it's value if you win, but it's just not going to happen. You're just betting on a long shot that's no way close. So let's go into projected win totals here. Indianapolis Colts, or let's just start at the top. Tennessee Titans. 9 total wins are projected for Tennessee. Now, Tennessee in this division ended up finishing, let's see. Let me double check where they were last year. 9-7. So they're around the.
No, they were not 9-7.
Oh, my bad. I have an old thing here. Well, where were they at?
I could be. There's no way they were 9-7. They had to be like 11-5. And I don't even know what they were, but they were 9-7.
Hold on one second.
BS on that right now.
No,
I'm looking forward to.
Anyways, they're projected 9 total wins this year. So they're gonna be in that same category. Let me see here.
I got it. They finished 11-5.
11-5. So they're taking a step back here from what they were last year. So, not going to be the best, but they did get some key additions there. We'll dive into those in a minute. The rest of these, we have projected total wins for Houston is 4. We got Jacksonville at 6.5 and 8.5 for the Indianapolis Colts. So that's where we're at with the win totals here. Now, which team do we want to start out with when it comes to just breaking down a little bit of AFC South football?
Let's start with the team that never gets started, the Jacksonville Jaguars, for fun. Let's start with
the Jags. Okay.
You're not even happy about that. We had to address the list. We're going to address them all. I'm getting it out of the way for you.
All I have to say is Tim Tebow. That's all. So Tim Tebow obviously is the big story here. Second rate is Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is the big talk here coming into camp, trying to figure out whether or not he's going to be something that's going to come in and be able to take the reins here in the AFC South and do something, right? Now, this team isn't void of talent. They have some, decent weapons around. DJ Chark, which I've seen some things that maybe people are fading him a little bit this year, but an okay wide receiver core. They have an okay defense that's, competitive here and there throughout the course of the season. But as far as, their chances, I mean, the odds to make the playoffs are plus 330, so it's not great. They're not projected to get anywhere big this season. I think the growth is going to be with their young talent and how they build around Trevor Lawrence. However, they do have some chance to maybe win some games this year and be competitive in a handful of these. With the division, you have Houston below you. Indianapolis could be, depending on injuries and things they have going on with Carson Wentz, they could be they could be in maybe some trouble where Jacksonville might creep up on them. I don't see that happening, but you never know, right? So, what do you think with Jacksonville here, Scotty?
First of all, 6.5, the over/under. Let's keep in mind this is a team that won 1 game last year. Hey, we got another follow.
Oh,
appreciate it.
JM Stemper. Thanks for following. We are on our way. Let's go. And Chipotle BTC. Let's go. We hit our follower goal for the first time, guys. Let's go. Love it.
We did it.
Hey, guys. Appreciate the love. Thank you so much.
we're gonna close the show down now because it's downhill for me now.
Mic drop. We're done. Cut the show. Yeah. No. Go.
Appreciate it, guys. Back to the Jags and dive in. Anyone who just followed us, feel free in the chat. Like, we love having conversations in the chat. It feeds us. It allows us to have a better time. That way I don't have to talk to Chris the whole time. So I appreciate it, and I'm sure he does too, so he doesn't have to talk to me the whole time either. So thanks for the follow. Hop in that chat and give us your thoughts on why we're right, why we're wrong. More importantly, why we're wrong, because we very well could be. So Jags, the big storyline now that Tebow's out is Trevor Lawrence. 6.5 wins is a lot to me for a team that won one game. They started out 1-0 and lost their last 15. So they're on a 15-game losing streak. You don't see that in the NFL very often. You're right. They do have weapons. Like, they're weird. And they had James Robinson, who was the best rookie running back in the NFL stats-wise last year. And, of course, they go and draft Travis Etienne out of Clemson early on in the draft to I don't know if that's replaced James Robinson or at least, have a split backfield with those two. They added Carlos Hyde. They signed Carlos Hyde, the vet, in the offseason. You talked about wide receiver DJ Chark. They do have Laviska Shenault from the Buffs, along with Marvin Jones Jr. So they got some pieces. The offensive line's a work in progress, and the defense is a big-time work in progress. They got a couple pieces. Miles Jack is nice. Josh Allen rushing the quarterback's nice. Everywhere else is pretty much a piecing together and a work in progress. So 6.5 is a lot of wins for me. They're clearly not in a position where I think they're playoff ready. That's going to take at least another year to kind of mold this together and let Trevor Lawrence get his feet under him. Because, he's playing. Let's be honest. He's going to play. He's going to start. And we'll see how Urban Meyer in his first time as an NFL coach does. A lot of those college guys haven't always transitioned well to the NFL. Some have, but more often than not, they have not. So we'll see how that transition goes for him. So they'll be an interesting team to watch and see how they progress. But still at least a year or two away from being a legit playoff team in this AFC.
Yeah, I agree. And the team that they have a chance to catch here in this division is the Indianapolis Colts. Finished 11-5 in their 2020 campaign. And there's a chance that they can potentially make a move here. Obviously, the biggest pieces that were added for Indianapolis this year, just by the way, so they're projected. They were 11-5 last year. Their AFC South projection win total is 8-5. So they're taking a little step back from where they were last year. That's maybe partly because of Carson Wentz injury. Who knows how that's going to affect him over the course of the season. They say he's going to come back week 1, but how that affects him, he's already not 100% coming into the regular season. So that'll be interesting to see what ends up happening there. But one of the important position battles here is pass rusher. If draft picks worked like pieces, Kwity Paye, he would snap right into place on this one. So that would be, a big add because they had departures of Justin Houston and Danico Autry. So, they need to fill those holes. So, the Colts had a really good defense last year. Now, they're projected to have a decent defense this year, but how Kwity Paye kind of jumps in and is able to make an immediate impact is going to be interesting as well. But Carson Wentz is the big story here. Quarterback, we might not ultimately learn in camp what to think about this new fit because he's obviously hurt. He's going to be coming back maybe week 1. But, as far as, his consistency and what he could bring to this team, protect him because he wasn't getting a lot of protection in Philadelphia where he had a little bit of issue with getting sacked quite a bit. That's going to be a big thing too. He has time to throw the ball. So we'll see how he ends up handling that and managing that, game to game. But Scotty, what do you think here about the Indianapolis Colts?
I feel like the Colts came in, they got injuries at the start of their camp, and everyone's just been down on them ever since. Wentz went down, Quentin Nelson, their all-pro left guard, went down. Maybe the best left guard in the game. And ever since, people have just been like, no, I'm out on the Colts. The Colts are going to suck. And we're not sure. Those two guys could be back week 1. They could not. It might take a few weeks, but this is a team that has Frank Reich as coach. Love him. He's done a tremendous job. Has proven to lead them to win. And let's be honest. Are we sure with Phillip Rivers last year they had a good quarterback? Like, I'm not certain they had a good quarterback in their system last year. How good was Phillip Rivers in his, he had no arm strength. He might know where to go with the ball at times, but he can't always deliver. Like, obviously Carson Wentz has a ton more arm strength, maybe not the intangibles and the smarts and the knowledge that Phillip Rivers brings. I don't love Carson Wentz by any means. I think he made a lot of mistakes and was a bit of a disaster in Philadelphia, especially last year. But he's got talent. He's got the ability if he can piece it together and figure it out with the right coaching. They have Jonathan Taylor, the second half of last year was one of the best running backs in the game, and I think he's a guy that we need to talk about more fantasy wise in running back position. Like, it would not I think he easily could be a top 5 running back in fantasy this year, coming into his second year after taking a little time to get acclimated in the first half of last year. He dominated the second half. They still have T.Y. Hilton. At this point, I don't know, is he 800 years old? Because he's been in Indy, it seems like, since Peyton started his career. So it's a little wild.
How T.Y. Hilton he's going to be the Tom Brady of wide receivers in this league. He's going to be in the league for 50 years, and he's never going to go away.
Yeah, and if Quentin Nelson's healthy on the offensive line, this is a really good offensive line that could get better with if Eric Fisher, who they actually signed, the left tackle from the Chiefs, since he was the number 1 pick years ago, who tore his Achilles in the AFC Championship game. So he's not going to be ready to go to start the year, but if he comes back at some point, that offensive line, if they piece it together, is really, really good with some Quentin Nelson, Ryan Kelly, Braden Smith, all really, really, really good offensive linemen. Defense played well at times last year, got overmatched against really good talent. I worry about the pass rush. They lost Justin Houston, who actually played well last year. DeForest Buckner is still going to be a force in the interior, and they signed Darius Leonard to a big deal, I believe, or they're waiting to, at the linebacker spot. Secondary is okay, not elite, but solid enough. So this is a team that I think people are too down on. I think they heard about the injuries and they're like, now we're out on the Colts. I think they're well coached. I think they have the ability to make things happen. I wouldn't rule out them winning the division, and I certainly think, I don't know, 8.5 seems low to me.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I feel like they're locked into that second spot there, though. They're the better team over Jacksonville, over Houston, which we're going to touch on here in a second. But yeah, for some reason, we'll see how this team ends up looking at, because this team could surprise people a little bit. So let's talk about Houston, though. Houston, the train wreck that Houston is. Houston has a lot of they have a lot of question marks, man. Do they have a roster? Are they fielding a team this year?
I think and I'll dive into what I mean by this, but I think they just have running backs on this roster.
And which is one of the more important running back battles in this camp. So, let's dive into the running backs. You have Houston, who added 2 former 1,000-yard rushers in Mark Ingram, and Phillip Lindsay, along with a player who's averaged 88 touches over the past 5 seasons, in Rex Burkhead. They have actually a nice little running back core there that, it's like...
And they still have David Johnson.
Every
other NFL team has figured out, maybe devalue the running back position a little bit. It's more about blocking. It's more about your passing game that opens up the running game. No, the Texans this offseason were like, fuck it. We're going all in. We're doing this. We are stacking the running back position. What's funny about when I say stacking, none of these guys you'd consider elite at the position, but they're all they have 4 guys that are all fine, and I don't know what they're doing. Phillip Lindsay, Mark Ingram, David Johnson, Rex Burkhead. Okay, obviously Phillip Lindsay and Mark Ingram are very different running backs. One's bigger, one's little, one's it's more of a scat back and Phillip Lindsay. Mark Ingram's more of your bruiser, run over guys. So I'm fine with like a split thing, but you still had David Johnson, who was pretty solid last year. Rex Burkhead's shown that he can, be somewhat productive at least. So I don't know what they're doing, man. And we haven't even brought up the fact that their quarterback position is a disaster.
They're drafted. They're building running backs like they're drafting their fantasy football team this year. All running backs in the first round. Or in the first 3 rounds. Gold Glover, how was the stream, my friend? Thanks for popping in. Let's go. What's up? We're doing good, man. We're just getting into some of these divisions. I heard you were covering some. I was in there your stream a little bit earlier. You were covering the NFC North and having some good conversations, man. It was fire. Yeah, it was fire, man. I was having a good time. But glad you're able to pop in. With supporting each other's channels. It's a lot of fun, man. Great to see you back in. So, going back to this team here, that's all they have is running backs. So, you have, a little bit of a quarterback issue based off of what's going to happen here with, who's going to play quarterback? Is there going to be some suspension for, the quarterback role here in Houston, like based off of all the things that are happening off the field? It's going to be interesting to see. But he hasn't been able to be on the field in the first place with all of the issues on. Deshaun Watson hasn't been able to play because of COVID. He hasn't been able to play because of other
No, all of these things are made up in my mind. It's just reasons because he doesn't want to be out there. While he's also there's going to be a grand jury. He's being investigated by the FBI now. There's so much over his head. Weeks ago when we were previewing QBs, and I was like, hey, if you don't love your QB because you wait on him and you're not sure about him, you could always pull a flyer in the late rounds and draft Deshaun Watson, hoping at some point he comes back. I don't know how he comes back this year. There's so much looming over his head. He is the only reason this team is competitive at all. Their defense is a dumpster fire of dumpster fires. It's so bad. It's so bad. Name me a guy that would start on almost any other team. I'm looking. They have Eric Murray as their starting strong safety. Listen, he was on the Chiefs. He's garbage. He never started for the Chiefs. He wasn't good. You look at it and it's awful. Their defense was awful last year. It's gonna be awful this year, and their offense isn't gonna make up for you. Brandon Cooks, he's good for maybe 8 games a year. They signed Chris Conley, who's average at best, another former Chief. I don't know, man. They are a mess. They will compete for being the worst team in the league this year, especially if Deshaun Watson doesn't play at this point. I'm kind of leaning that he just won't play this year for any team. And that's going to be the reality. So they're looking at Tyrod Taylor, who's fine, but
or Jeff Driscoll.
If Jeff Driscoll beats out Tyrod Taylor, I don't know what you're
it's a nightmare. And then all of a sudden that 4, so they're projected 4 wins. They finished 4-12 last year. All of a sudden you're like, I'll take the under. I'll take the under on all of that.
4 with an added game, so we're looking at 7. They're projecting them to go 4-13. That's awful. And I bet more bets are coming in on the under because everyone just hates this roster.
I would bet the under.
I can't bet the under on 4 because listen, there's other bad teams or injuries can happen, or what if Deshaun Watson all of a sudden plays the second half? I would listen. I'm not saying when we go the over-unders, I won't take the under, but I'm not going to bet it. I'm not going to bet this one because there's too much unknown with Deshaun Watson. And if he comes back somehow, they're probably going to get over those 4 wins, even though they only won 4 with Deshaun last year. But,
Sure.
I don't know. This roster needs a lot of work. And I don't, Dave Coley, their new head coach, I have zero confidence in.
Yeah, I don't either. It's going to be rough. Gold Glover, we didn't even get to the East. Tomorrow we will get into the East, though. Yeah. All right. Nice, man. Can't wait for that show. And let's get the final little team here. And it's the highlight of this entire division, and that is the Tennessee Titans. So finished 11-5 last season. coming into this season projected at 9. So I mean, still,
So is that weird? Is that weird? The favorite in a division is projected. Their over/unders at 9.
It's a little
that's
weird.
Crazy. That's crazy low
It's a little
for a
weird.
team that I think people love, especially after the Julio Jones signing. To
They-
only be at 9 is suspicious to me.
For a team that has Derrick Henry, one of the most prolific runners in the league, for a team that added Julio Jones, in the offseason. I mean, it seems like you're more optimistic about this team than you were last year, and yet they're projected less wins. So figure that one out. That's kind of interesting, right?
You know who their starting right tackle is right now?
Is it Ty Sambrailo?
It sure is. Do you remember him?
Oh, I remember Ty Sambrailo really well because he played like shit for the Broncos. And
He was a Ram, though.
he's a Rammy. He is a Rammy. So
CSU, Colorado State Ram.
that doesn't mean he's not shit in the NFL.
yeah, it's concerning.
So it's not great. And that's one of the biggest battles here is the right tackle position in camp. So trying to figure out, how they're going to be able to protect Ryan Tannehill. And obviously, they were really good offensively, but they weren't very good defensively, I don't think. From what I could remember, they gave up a lot of points. Like, they weren't exactly great on the defensive side of the football, which you can't outscore teams. Like, when you get into the Kansas City Chiefs, you try to outscore them, well, guess what's going to happen? You're going to get blown out. But
Why is that? Who would blow you up?
drink. I'm not even going to. Okay, y'all let you mention it. So yeah, there's going to be some interesting pieces here. They have some pieces. Caleb Farley, first round pick, underwent surgery in March. Hopefully he can, get a little bit better and, try to come back.
A little beat up.
Talent-wise,
he's legit, but he's started playing in camp. I saw a clip of him today, matched up single wide on Mike Evans. They were practicing with the Bucks, and it was a play where he shut Mike Evans down. Where it didn't look like Mike Evans was also trying that hard, so I thought it was overrated clip. But he's a piece. Their secondary was awful, and to their credit, they've kind of, outside of Kevin Byard, I'm terrible at saying his name, the safety who's really good. They're trying to fill that gap in the secondary with guys. They signed Janoris Jenkins, who's been around the block and been around a long time, but has had some seasons where he's been really, really good and some where he's been inconsistent. Christian Fulton was a corner and I think he's going in his second year at LSU. Talented guy. We'll see what happens with him. So that secondary is the big question mark on defense. They have some nice pieces with, Rashaan Evans at linebacker, Bud Dupree they added in the offseason. You have Jeffrey Simmons, the D tackle, who's a beast. They list him in 3-4 as left defensive end, but he plays on the inside. So they have some pieces along that line in the second level. That secondary is going to be where they live or die. And they at least knew they couldn't live with who they had last year. So a lot of guys who had been there a long time, like your Logan Ryan, things like that, they said goodbye to, and they're going to at least go a little younger and see what happens. Obviously, offensively, their big addition, Julio Jones, who's been not playing a ton in camp. They're kind of resting him. Julio Jones healthy and at his peak is a monster. Like that combo with AJ Brown, I talked about all last year. You know how much I love AJ.
You love AJ Brown.
I love me some AJ Brown. And then I'm not talking fantasy or anything like that. I'm just talking as a wide receiver. That dude's a monster and a beast, and is he's a top 5 wide receiver in the league, and he doesn't get that pub in my mind. So I love AJ Brown. Obviously, you got your Derrick Henry and Tannehill. As long as that run game's working out, is going to be able to hit the passes to whether it's AJ Brown or Julio Jones. They got Josh Reynolds. They obviously lost their tight end who went to New England, and I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, but he wasn't just a dominant piece for them. So I don't know. 9 is suspiciously low to me. That's weird, especially in a division where you have two teams perceived as being pretty bad in Jacksonville and Houston. That's almost if they can beat those two teams twice, that's 4 wins right there. So Vegas is smart. They make money for a reason. I have to feel like people are pouring on the over on this. And I am going to do some more research before we talk about that in a show we do later where we go over every over under and who we like.
Yep.
Because nine for the Titans seems crazy low.
That's what I thought too. So we'll see what ends up happening. But Tennessee, this is their division to lose. I don't think they end up losing. I think they end up taking this division. But let's dive in. Let's shift it. We cover the South. Let's cover in the AFC. Let's cover the South in the NFC. Now the NFC, we have a lot to cover here as well. Projection wise, Tampa Bay, I guess they're the favorites. They got the best old man in the entire league. So obviously you can't go against Tom Brady when you're Vegas odds makers and you see what he can do, right? He won the Super Bowl last year. Super Bowl champion, resides in this division, the NFC South. So Tampa Bay Buccaneers come in as heavy favorites to win this. So this division is in a weird place, right? There's not a lot of competitiveness in this one. It's really top heavy with one team. So Tampa Bay minus 185 to win this. That means they are overwhelmingly like the favorites to win this one. Betting 185 to win 100. Man, you're pretty confident with them coming out of this one with the championship of the division. New Orleans Saints, if you're on the flip side, plus 330. This comes with changing of the guard when it comes to the quarterback position. Having Drew Brees leave and having some uncertainty with some quarterbacks that you might not even know how they're going to do. Jameis Winston is spotty at best. He could have like insane games and he can have shit games. Atlanta Falcons, Matt Ryan has never really come through and proven that he could be that guy. Like, he's not that guy. I've always thought Matt Ryan is a little bit overhyped, in my opinion. He hasn't done anything. He reminds me of what the San Diego Chargers were when they were always projected to win the AFC West, and yet they choked in like the end of the season every single year. Everyone always hyped the Chargers because the Chargers were that sexy team.
You're talking about like that's in the past. It's still happening every year. Even I saw a clip on NFL Network's Good Morning Football this year hyping the Chargers as like potentially winning the AFC West. So just another year of them doing that. But go ahead. Yeah.
But they're the San Diego Chargers or LA Chargers of this division, in my opinion.
To Matt Ryan's credit, he did have a 28-3 lead in a Super Bowl.
And who did he lose to?
He lost. He lost to another quarterback in his division.
Yeah, he lost to Tom Brady, and he's going to continue to lose to Tom Brady in this division. So Atlanta Falcons plus 700 to win this division. Bet 100 to win 700? Sure. The Atlanta Falcons, we'll dive into this. Man, they gave up some leads last year, man. That Dallas Cowboys game, whoo, there was an Atlanta Falcon fan that lost a lot of money on that game. And then last but not least, Carolina Panthers, who, they're in that rebuilding phase. They might still be trying to get Deshaun Watson. They have a little bit of all sorts of things happening there, but they do have Christian McCaffrey. They have a couple weapons there. Plus 950. They are slated to finish fourth in this division. So projected totals, 11.5 for Tampa Bay, bringing back a great defense, a pretty good offense. Atlanta Falcons are projected 7.5 wins, along with, all right, think about this. Carolina Panthers and Atlanta Falcons both projected the same win totals, yet Carolina is plus 950, Atlanta is plus 700. All right, so, maybe you can say that Carolina Panthers might have a chance to, based off of their projected total wins, may be able to chance to catch the Falcons. The Falcons might finish in the bottom of this one. So who knows there? And then the New Orleans Saints, 9 total wins projected in 2021, according to FanDuel Sportsbook. So that's where we're at. Let's dive into these teams and see a little bit of a close-up on what we're working with here. Starting, let's dive in with the Atlanta Falcons. Finished 2020 with a 4-12 record, so not great. Obviously, Matt Ryan is one of those guys that he's one of the better quarterbacks in the league from what people, put him as in that pedestal of quarterback echelon. I feel like he's an overrated quarterback in my opinion. That's just me. But they got some interesting players that they brought in. They did lose a couple key players as well, but Calvin Ridley is a monster on the wide receiver side, so he's going to be Matt Ryan's favorite target. Keep an eye on him in fantasy football. Kyle Pitts, tight end, is another one. So that's another one that can come in. Really, really high-rated prospect. So he has the potential to make some big, big plays here. We might talk about him in a little bit. Who knows?
He is the tight end, so I bet we do.
Yeah. We will talk. By the way, speaking of tight ends, we are covering our number one secret that will win you your fantasy football league, and it has to do with tight ends. So don't go anywhere. We're covering that right after this segment next. So don't go anywhere. Yeah. So from this team, I just, I don't really see that they've improved enough for me to be excited about what they're doing coming into 2021. I don't see it. I don't see the spots where they've really gotten better to the point where I feel confident in them competing in this division higher than a certain point. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't see them, even New Orleans having the quarterback questions they have. I think New Orleans is still a better team. So from that standpoint, I don't know, man. I don't really have anything exciting to say about the Atlanta Falcons going into this year.
Yeah, the exciting piece is maybe, let's hope, like Kyle Pitts, who we'll dive into later, is the piece they thought he was when they took him, I believe, number 4 overall in the draft as a tight end, difference maker out of Florida. Hopefully he can fill in for, obviously, the loss of Julio Jones for Matt Ryan to piece with Calvin Ridley, who, as you said, Calvin Ridley is going to dominate this year and get a ton of targets and a ton of touches, and he'll put up big fantasy numbers. This defense is not great. They got some holes. I like Grady Jarrett. Dante Fowler has been around the block a little bit, can sometimes apply some pressure. AJ Terrell, they added a couple years ago in the draft from Clemson in the first round. He's been all right. Otherwise, like, this is not a defense that you just look at. Like, they were part of the reason they had to lose Julio Jones. They were in salary cap hell this offseason, so they had to unload some salary. They went all in with this roster that they thought was going to be a winner, and it kind of fell flat. It's kind of fallen flat since that Super Bowl. Ever since 28-3, it's kind of been a dumpster fire of sorts for the Falcons. I don't think they've won a playoff game. I believe they did make the playoffs since then, but they have not won a playoff game since that loss in the Super Bowl, which is super disappointing, especially when they had a 28-3 lead in that game. Yeah, listen, I've been fooled before. I'm like, no, the Falcons have a roster. They're going to be fine. They're going to win games. Matt Ryan's solid, if not spectacular. Like, he may not be spectacular, but he's a solid quarterback. This roster doesn't excite me. I'm not going to get fooled again.
Yeah.
This team finds ways to lose. Now, we'll see whether they can stop doing that. Arthur Smith, the new coach, the Tennessee Titans offensive coordinator from last year, who led that prolific run game with Derrick Henry and led a really, really good offense in Tennessee. So we'll see what he can do as an NFL head coach, and maybe stem the tide on the, like, them and the Chargers last year were like epic in losing games they shouldn't have lost. So that 4-12 record, they were better than 4-12, but are they a playoff team? No, I don't think so. Maybe everyone else can hear you, but I can't hear you, Chris. Can other people hear you?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. You got muted first. You muted yourself.
Yeah, my bad.
Which I appreciate.
Sometimes people don't like what I have to say, so I mean, it's honestly better that way. Just like when your video turns off and you're just like, nah, people don't need to see me. That's how I feel.
My face is not a winner.
Yeah, so no one's excited about the Falcons. and we don't have any expectations for them this year. They're probably going to be at the bottom of this, and I wouldn't be surprised if they finished last in this division. So that's my little spiel on them. Let's move on, though. Carolina Panthers are the ones that are battling for that last spot in this division. And honestly, if I'm betting on this, I feel like, and I got to check the FanDuel Sports app to see if you can pick where teams will finish in a division. I'm sure that's a thing you can bet on. I know FanDuel's limited. You can go to Vegas and bet on literally everything. But if I'm betting, I wouldn't mind putting a little wager that Carolina finishes. I don't know what the odds are. I'm completely in the dark on this, but I'd say that the Carolina Panthers finish third in this division. I think the Carolina Panthers might be better than the Falcons in this year. And I think they're going to get maybe potentially over their win total. They were kind of a team that I felt last season were better than they were. And they ended up finishing with 5 wins, 5-11. People had them in the dumpster. And I was like, no, maybe hold your breath on the Carolina Panthers. They might compete. And they did. They were the worst team in the league. 5-11. They managed. So this year, they are projected a little bit more here with 7.5 wins. And I don't think that's far off from, standard, right? What we think. Now, they do have Christian McCaffrey, who is, a guy that, man, that kid can do literally everything. Coming off an injury from 2020 where, he didn't really have a lot of time he crushed fantasy football owners, but he's back. Hopefully he can stay healthy this year. And then as far as Sam Darnold's coming in. They're doing the little Sam Darnold experiment, getting him from New York Jets, seeing what he can do. I think this is going to be a beneficial move for Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold had zero to work with in New York. He had nothing to get excited about going to work every day. They had 0 Pro Bowlers practically around him over the course of his first seasons with the Jets. They had nobody to put around him to make him successful. Well, here he's got a couple pieces, right? He's got some pieces that can make them really stand out and maybe revitalize a career of a nice young quarterback that people had a lot of hopes for going into the draft. And when he was drafted, going into the New York Jets, people were hyped. They were saying he was the next Andrew Luck. He might be able to revitalize that here. Does he do it, Scotty?
Listen, I like this Panthers team a little bit. I like Matt Rule, the head coach, a lot. This is his second year coming out of Baylor. He took Baylor from a disaster, suspensions, things like that, and instantly, improve them. I think this offense is going to be pretty good. If Darnold can just get the ball out of his hands and go to where the play is designed, they have pieces. Talk about Christian McCaffrey. I think he's a no-brainer number 1 pick in fantasy football.
Has to be.
Have the number 1 pick. If you don't take, whether it's PPR or regular, it doesn't matter. Certainly in PPR, but in regular standard formats, I would take McCaffrey number 1. It's a no-brainer. Robbie Anderson balled out. This is a reuniting of Darnold and Robbie Anderson when they played in the Jets 2 years ago. So they played together before. DJ Moore, wide receiver, and then they love in camp Terrace Marshall Jr. From LSU, wide receiver that they drafted this year in the draft. So they have pieces. The offensive line is going to be okay, not great, but okay. I think that Darnold has some ability. If not, I don't know if you watched. There could be a QB battle here at some point because PJ Walker, the backup, kind of balled out in their preseason, and he has some athletic ability and he can sling it. I like PJ Walker a lot. He's exciting. We'll see if he ever plays. But if Darnold struggles and they go to PJ Walker, I think they're going to be fine. Listen, this was a team that was pretty good offensively at times with Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback last year. So I think they can scheme up some things. Defensively, I love a couple pieces. They have some holes to fill. Brian Burns is a up and coming pass rusher that they drafted out of Miami a couple years ago. Derek Brown they got on the interior from Auburn. Jeremy Chin they drafted in the draft last year. Free safety. He's a monster. He's their best defensive player already, as he was as a rookie last year. He's a playmaker. He'll make plays for you. Kind of reminds me of like a Tyrann Mathieu, Honey Badger, and then he will cause things to happen. He'll make things happen. So they have some pieces. I think this team's gonna be better than people think. I like this team a little bit. Now, are they in contention to like go deep in the playoffs? No, but are they a team that could squeak into the postseason? Maybe. I think so.
Yeah, no, they're a team that could be in that wild card conversation. They're a team that can upset a pretty good team, or be spoiler at the end of the year as well. So, I mean, the Panthers are on the up and ups. Don't sweat on the Panthers here. So, anyways, yeah, we'll see how they end up panning out. I mean, I take what do we have them at projected at 7.5 wins. I think that's right around where they're going to finish. So I wouldn't touch this bet, but yeah,
I'm taking the over, and I might bet it.
Ooh, hot take. Let's go. It's not a hot take. I think they might. It's close. Next, we want to cover the New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans Saints are projected at 9 wins. Now, they finished last year 12-4, so they're taking a huge step back. That's due to Drew Brees retiring. He's gone, and quarterback is the big position battle of this team, right? Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill. Sean Payton is going to be kind of looking at who's going to be the best situation here on who's going to take over the role here. Boys, the audio sounds crisp. Love it. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. We try to hone in on it. Like, really, we try to make sure it's right where it needs to be. So appreciate the love. But yeah, Jameis Winston, man, he can be Rocket Winston, and he could also be shit Winston, based off of throwing interceptions. He's a guy that could get you 50 touchdowns and 50 interceptions in a season, and you just like, what's going on here? So yeah, that's kind of the big piece of it. Michael Thomas is also another wild card here. Michael Thomas has been very cryptic over the past like month, where he's like kind of upset with the team, kind of not, kind of secretive with how he's feeling. Something's going on there. He's got that Damian Lillard vibe going of just throwing out cryptic tweets about how he might not be happy. I don't know what that means. But yeah, it's interesting, man. Gold Glover in the chat using XLR. No, we're not. But I mean, I have my Streamlabs. I played around with the settings to make it so it's a little bit better, even if it's not like a super great mic. It's still, we have the sound quality and a good point. But yeah, no, it's definitely tweaking little by little. But love to have conversations with you about all those settings and stuff if you're interested. So yeah,
you guys can nerd out later.
We'll nerd out. Gold Glover and I, we go way back. You know what I'm saying? Like we do it. But yeah, so with Michael Thomas, like that's an interesting situation going on with that team. But yeah, what are you thinking here with the New Orleans Saints and what your prospects are of them? I mean, again, finishing from a 12-4 season, coming in with 9 projected total wins. Where do you got them?
This one's tough for me to project because obviously, yes, the quarterback position is going to be a problem, but I'm not sure Drew Brees was great last year. In fact, I'm pretty certain Drew Brees was a below average quarterback last year, and this team went 12-4. You look at 2 years ago when they had Bridgewater as the backup when Brees got hurt. Bridgewater went 5-0. So, and Brees was hurt last year as well. So, like, Sean Payton knows how to win despite having quarterback play that maybe isn't up to what the level of an average NFL quarterback is. Now, Jameis Winston, as you said, is a roller coaster ride. He's up and down. He'll make some great plays. He likes to push the ball. I think this team's going to throw, they're either going to throw deep to their wide receivers or going to just dump it off to Kamara. Like, those are the two options. I don't think Michael Thomas obviously is more of an intermediate route, especially a guy with Drew Brees. I don't like Michael Thomas in fantasy, by the way, this year. I don't think these quarterbacks fit in with the style of what Michael Thomas is, like Drew Brees did. Michael Thomas being cryptic, I don't know what he's complaining about. He got paid. I don't know why he's upset. either say why you're upset or just play.
I think it had to do with the injury issue, like misdiagnosis, something or other. I don't know. There was something there where it was similar to, I don't know. It was a weird situation.
Wide receivers are weird, man. They're just up in their feelings.
They're divas,
all
man.
The time.
It's a
all the time up in their feelings. Like, how long ago did that happen? Like, get over it. Like,
True.
I don't know. I just when someone upsets me, I get over in probably an hour or two. So to hold on to it for that long, I just can't relate to that. That's not me. I don't understand it. But I'm also not getting paid a lot of money to be an NFL wide receiver. I was close. If I would have had a little more height, a lot more athleticism, and a lot more work ethic, I might have been able to do it.
You barely missed the cut on that one. Yeah. You could have been a decent tight end, I guess, maybe.
I think my natural position actually would have been on defense, a little free safety action.
Okay. You
like to read the quarterback's eyes and make some plays on the ball,
like hitting people
and light up some guys that aren't looking. If they're looking, I'm probably gonna get lit up. But if they're not looking, I can get a shot in maybe once or twice.
By the way, just side note real quick. I just want to say, if you've ever seen that clip of Chad Johnson, is incredible. Ocho Cinco, his follow his Twitter. He's fantastic. But there was this one play where he was playing against the Baltimore Ravens when he was with Cincinnati, and he came across and he was going to put a block on Ray Lewis, and Ray Lewis just smashed him. Just literally laid him out, and he was mic'd up for this particular play, and it was incredible to hear Chad Johnson go back to. He's like, man, I went after him. He lit me up. He laid me out. It was like, man, he put me on my ass. It's the best audio. Go back, find that audio where YouTube it. It's fantastic. Anyways, I digress.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got off topic here in general. I have the Saints. I don't have a great feel for the Saints. I think they can be competitive because of their coach and Sean Payton, and I think Jameis Winston can be solid. And Taysom Hill's, they're still technically in a battle. Taysom Hill's not going to win you playoff games.
No.
So my mind and Sean Payton has to be thinking down the road. I don't know if Jameis Winston can, but he at least has the throwing ability to give you a shot. Taysom Hill is not going to win you anything. He might win you some games in the regular season, and you can fool some people for a little bit, but long term, that's not a recipe for success. They're paying him a lot of money to be a backup quarterback, but defensively, this is a good defensive team. It really is. So this team is going to be competitive, and I think people are probably if I were to bet, I'd bet the over, just because I think the perception out there is now that Drew Brees is gone, this team's going to fall off. And I'm not sure that's going to be the case. Are they going to be the elite team they were 2 or 3 years ago with Drew Brees when he was playing a little better? No, of course not. But I still think they would not surprise me at all if this team makes the playoffs. Not one bit.
No, I think you're right. I think they have the potential there. I think they have to go with Jameis Winston. He's the boomer bust, right? He's the guy that's going to be, if they hit it big, he's the guy that's going to do it for him. Taysom Hill is just going to be average. Taysom Hill, for me, is that 500 quarterback. He's not going to win you a ton. He's not going to lose you a ton. He's just a random guy, right?
If you are better than the other team at every other position, start Taysom Hill.
Yeah.
But if you're not and you need him to make plays, and he'll still play. They'll have a package for him for sure.
I don't trust Jameis in the playoffs, though. You trust him maybe a little more than I do. He gives you a better chance to win in the playoffs because he's that boomer bust, but I still don't trust Jameis Winston at all. But let's go back to so we need to get to this tight end. We got a secret for you that you have to know, and we're one team away, just covering the Tampa Bay championship. We finished, man. We planned that out, right? We're finishing our division wrap-ups with the champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I know you hate to hear that, but that's where we're finishing things out, and we're going to talk about them. And then don't go anywhere. We're going to take a 30-second break after we do this, and we're going to tell you the exact strategy you need to win your fantasy football. We've been teasing it. Not wide receiver, not running back, not quarterback. There's a certain secret that we have for you tonight, live on Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube, that's going to win you your fantasy football league. So don't go anywhere. It's coming up here very, very soon. But let's talk about Tampa Bay Buccaneers and what we think about them coming into the season. Now, they are projected to win this by a long shot. Minus 185. The next best team, New Orleans, is plus 330. That's a huge difference in margin when it comes to what Vegas sees as the best team in this division. And that is Tampa Bay, projected to win at 11.5 games. Now, they finished last season. Let me just double check this and confirm. 11-5. So they're going to be around the same, right? They have a lot of returning players. They have a lot of veteran players on this team. And, you know, there's going to be some challenges here when it comes to some running back decisions that they have to make. So with savvy vet Giovanni Bernard all but locked in as the third down back, battles between Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette to see who is going to take the lead in that backfield. So that'll be an interesting thing to watch going into the season. Player returning, OJ Howard, tight end. It must be nice to be a reigning Super Bowl champion and have, you know, a weapon including a solid tight end that you could throw to each and every time, along with Rob Gronkowski, Cameron Brate still in town. So, I mean, man, Rob Gronkowski's still on this team. This is a team of freaking, man, Tampa. People go to Florida to retire and to die off. Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski, they're kind of fitting that mold at the moment. Here's the thing though. They're still performing. Maybe not Rob Gronkowski to a certain extent as much as Tom Brady, but they're still up there. We just recently saw Tom Brady throw a Super Bowl trophy from boat to boat in the Super Bowl parade. Like hammered, having a good time on not only, what was it? It was it was like avocado tequila.
Avocado tequila. Is that? Did we figure out if that's real or not? I'm still confused.
I don't know. It's a thing. Tom Brady's got hammered on avocado tequila, throwing a Super Bowl trophy from boat to boat.
I heard Big Ben commenting on it. He's like, "I've been eating healthier, but I'm not doing avocado tequila or something." I'm like, "Oh, I don't know if this is real or he's just making a joke." I'm still confused. Is it real?
It has to be, man.
I like your tequila. Have you tried avocado tequila?
I'm having some tequila right now. It's not avocado, but it's good tequila. But yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Get yourself some avocado tequila.
But all I can say is Tom Brady puts himself in a good place when it comes to his diet and everything else to keep on track, and he's doing that. He's going to be playing until he's 50 at this point. But this is a guarantee lock of winning this division. There's no really I don't think there's a chance anyone can catch this team in this division.
Did they win the division last year?
No, they did not. So
no, the Saints won it last year at 12-4.
Do the Saints have Drew Brees this year?
They had him not for every game last year. And was Drew Brees good last year?
No, he was not. But still, Tampa Bay, they're just...
Listen, absolutely, they're the favorite in the division.
They're not going to lose.
I would disagree that it's a lock. And this roster is loaded. And I'm going to give you the hot takes of all hot takes. People will just sign off after this. Like, they'll just be like, you're
hot
an idiot.
Take.
And I don't even care. I don't care.
Let's hear it.
At this point in everyone's career, based off their ability right now as a player, the biggest weakness I see with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is at the quarterback position.
Hot take.
Let's go.
Tell us in chat, do you agree? But I want to
agree with that. Is anyone going to agree with that?
I want to hear your take on it, though.
I'm saying the GOAT, everyone's GOAT, Tom Brady, won a Super Bowl last year. First of all, if you actually like look at every clip of every throw he made in the Super Bowl last year, it's laughable how easy the throws were and how he didn't do anything special whatsoever. Because I've watched him. I've watched that clip. However, and you could watch clips of a lot of Super Bowls where it's that way. This roster's stacked. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, Rob Gronkowski, a really, really good offensive line.
Woo.
Defense, Ndamukong Suh, Vita Vea, William Golston, Jason Pierre-Paul, Devin White, Levante David, Shaq Barrett, Antoine Winfield, Sean Murphy-Bunting. Like, it's loaded. This roster is loaded. Like, what Tom Brady is great at is finding out. The best thing he ever did was choose Tampa Bay. When he was a free agent, he was like, where should I go? And he chose Tampa Bay. He had the foresight to know. Now, they added some of these pieces in the draft and whatnot, but the foresight to know this roster is, in fact, loaded.
In my opinion.
And by the way, Bruce Arians, also not a good coach. Not a good coach. Not a bad coach. I would put him as an average coach.
Okay.
He's average.
Okay.
So he doesn't excite me. I think I actually like their D coordinator. Drawing a blank on who it is. He used to be the Jets coach.
Raheem Moore.
No, not his name. Now I gotta look it up. Bucks D coordinator. He used to be the Jets coach.
Todd Bowles. Yeah.
Love Todd Bowles.
Todd Bowles is legit.
Thought he got a bad deal in the Jets. I think he's a head coach. I think he's a better head coach if you insert him as the head coach than Bruce Arians, quite frankly. But as a defensive coordinator, he's elite among elite. He has a lot of talent to work with. They were very, very healthy last year. I'll say that. So we'll see whether the injury bug creeps up. Like, it's not like they're that young, especially on offense. They're not that young on offense outside of some offensive line pieces. Every other position is pretty experienced and a veteran of the league that might break down a little bit. But yeah, no, this team's roster is loaded. Their biggest weakness is Tom Brady.
Honestly, like, what makes Tom Brady the GOAT is the fact that he could evaluate teams and go to the right spot. You mentioned going to Tampa Bay. He was a loaded team waiting to happen. And I mean, that's part of being smart, man. Being a smart quarterback and going to the team that you feel is going to give you the best chance to win. And he did that. So I give him the props. That's part of him being the best ever. And I know you're about to. I know what you're going to say.
Clip this. No, I want us to clip this and send it to Freezing Cold Takes. And I want them to have this on their radar because I think I'm right. I think first of all, I would love nothing more than the Chiefs to have a rematch with Tampa in the Super Bowl this year. However, the problem is Tampa's not going to be there. The Chiefs will be there.
Ooh,
Tampa will not.
Who do you got?
I don't know yet. I don't know.
Is it Gold Glovers, Green Bay Packers, and then?
No, we already talked about how I'm not sure that Aaron Rodgers doesn't throw the season because he's that petty.
the pettiness is real. We'll see.
Real.
We'll see.
Did you see the clip today with Aaron Rodgers? By the way,
I did not.
I guess last year there was some like tight end that he like hyped. And the next day, the Green Bay Packers cut him, and he was a Buffalo Bill. But Buffalo Bills picked him up. So he was hyping another tight end deeper on the roster today. And one of their press guys, the Green Bay, in Green Bay, was basically like, "Oh, he's gonna make a great Buffalo Bill." And Aaron Rodgers is like mid drink of water, and he just starts laughing. He's like, "Come on!" I forget the guy's name, like Bob or something. He's like, "Come on, Bob!" Like, it was actually pretty funny.
I'll have to go check it out.
Well played by the media guy to make a point of anyone that Aaron Rodgers hypes that's the death of that person in Green Bay.
That's fantastic. Well, that's where we're at. We have to, this is going to be a fun season that puts a bow on everything we had when it came to all of our division previews. So you should know where each team stands, what we're looking for, what battles at camp that we're going to be keeping our eye on. If you missed out, go to our VODs, either in Twitch or on YouTube, because they're live on YouTube as well. You can skip through and find all the information you need. Plus, we have all our fantasy football stuff, which we are getting to next. In about 1 minute, after we take this break here shortly, we're going to get into the juiciest tight end. Oof. We're going to get into the juiciest tight end.
Love me some juice.
Juice and tight ends are my...
Does it get more juicy than saying that Tom Brady is the biggest weakness on a roster?
I mean, that's juicy, but I mean, a juice, you can't really go wrong with a juicy tight end. Anyways, we have the best secret that's going to win you your fantasy football league coming up next. So don't go anywhere. By the way, if you're here while we're on our break, hit that follow button. If you're trying to, have some fun with us moving forward, hit that follow button. It means a lot. We already hit our follower goal, but that doesn't mean we got to stop now. We want to keep it rolling, guys. Let's get to 50. Let's go. We're going to take a quick break, and we will be back with our tight end, defensive special teams, and kicker analysis moving forward. So don't go anywhere. All right. I told you we'd be back, and we are back. Let's do it. So we have some big stuff coming up here. Hey, you want to win your fantasy football team? This is going to be the way that you're going to do it, and that's with the Action Lab analysis of everything you need to know about all of your tight end, kicker, defensive special teams. We already covered all the other positions. This is all we got left. So let's make sure you know exactly what you need to know. And the juiciest is what we save for last. We have the information you need, and we're going to hit it with you right now. So, Scotty, I mean, we obviously, as you can tell in the, our stream here, we have some tight end, defensive special team rankings that are going to be flowing across the bottom of the screen here so people can understand who's who. But, I mean, when we dive into these things, we want to make sure people understand, hey, there's some little tidbits that you need to know and some strategies that go into this. Now, the biggest thing that we have for you is tight end, and the position is going to be huge for you this year. Scotty, what is the juiciest, before we dive into all of our tiers, before we dive into when to draft and what your strategy should be when it comes to tight ends, defensive special teams, and kickers, let's unveil it all. We've been waiting this long. What is your secret for this year's fantasy football league across the board?
I'm going big on tight end, and by big, that's a very select few, and it has to be at the right spot. But tight end is so overlooked in fantasy football, and it's slept on. You look at Travis Kelce, you got him pictured there. He's a beautiful man, even clean shaven if you've seen him this week. It's been a little controversy. Anyway, Travis Kelce, the last 5 seasons, ranking in tight end in fantasy: 1, 1, 2, 1, 1. So for the last 5 years, he's been the number 1 tight end in the league in fantasy football. The other year he was second, and he was like 5 points behind Gronkowski in that year, back in his days when he was with the Patriots. And let's keep in mind, if we're talking 5 years, that includes 2 years of Alex Smith as quarterback of the Chiefs. So it's not all Pat Mahomes. With Pat Mahomes, he's 1-1-1. And he plays all the time. He's had no injury history outside of his first year in the league. Since that point, he has played all the time. He's been healthy. He's reliable. Like, listen, I'm not saying if you have the number 1 pick in the first round. First of all, if you have the number 1 pick, as we talked about, Christian McCaffrey's the obvious choice. If you have the number 2 pick, I'd probably go Dalvin Cook. 3 is where I start to think about it. And listen, I know that's crazy to take a tight end at 3. And certainly back half of the first round. If you're in the back half of the first round, you're taking a flyer on a running back, hoping that guy can produce at a top 10 level. Instead of taking a tight end that you know is going to be the top tight end in the league, as long as he stays healthy, which you can say for any player. But this guy has a track record of staying healthy. I just think it's obvious. Like, you look at last year, Travis Kelce, 207.8 fantasy points in a standard league. Next best, Darren Waller, 171. So we're talking, 36 points there. 29, 36, 37 points. From there, it drops down to 124. And that was Robert Tonyan, who just caught touchdowns. And then from there, it drops down. Number 4 was 112. You're almost cutting your production at the tight end position in half by taking the 4th best tight end from the 1st best tight end. Like, that's wild to think about. The tight end position, first of all, there's only 3 guys I would target at all. I would target Travis Kelce in the first round, especially if you're mid to late and he's there. I think it's a no-brainer. Darren Waller, I like a lot. I like Darren Waller a lot. I think he's going to get a lot of touches. He had a great year last year. He's still up and coming. I like him early second. Okay? And then Kittle. I think Kittle coming back from his injury. I think he's still, Shanahan offense. As long as he's healthy, which there's no reason I think he won't be, he's going to produce. Outside of that, if you don't get one of those 3 in the first 2 rounds, I wouldn't touch tight end for days. I would leave the rest alone. I wouldn't touch any of them for a long, long time. Let me look at these numbers that I pulled up something. So actually, Matthew Berry, fantasy expert for ESPN, put out an article, and I didn't even read this before. I didn't even read it, and I love Matthew Berry. Didn't even read this when I said that tight end was my key position, but I saw it after the fact, and I have one other point after the fact as well that I'd like to point out. Last year, the difference at points per game at tight end between the number 1 tight end and the number 4 tight end was 8.8. The difference between the number 4 tight end and the number 15 tight end, 2.8. So the gap between 1 and 4 versus 4 to 15 is enormous.
That's insane.
And you're getting a guy that's consistently doing it every year. If you take Kelce, you're getting a guy that has been number 1 for the last 5 years, and the year he wasn't, he was number 2 by a small margin. So you're getting a guy you know will produce for you, and you don't have to worry about that position. Now, is that going to hurt you a little bit at the running back position? Yeah, but you can address that with some guys that may be around a little later that are up and coming. But because at the second half of the first round, you're drafting guys at running back that may not produce. They might fold on you. They might get hurt. They're also more injury prone than a tight end would be. Running back's more injury prone than probably any other position in fantasy. So like, that's a huge nugget. And then ironically, another guy on ESPN, Mike Clay, came out with 4 days ago. So I've been hyping this position forever. So I didn't know he was going to do this. He said, hey, the ideal pick in every round of the draft. And guess who his ideal pick was in the first round?
Travis Kelce.
Travis motherfucking Kelce. He listed out reasons. He agrees with me. He's like, hey, listen, if you're picking 1, 2, maybe even 3, 4, but if you're in the back half of your first round, it should be a no-brainer. You grab Kelsey, and he should be there in the back half because most people don't value tight ends like that.
Well, here's the thing.
If you're terrified to take a first-round tight end, Aaron Waller, I think, is even more than Kittle. I think he's a step above everyone else.
Here's the thing, though. Everybody is jonesing for running backs. Running backs. I mean, I've seen mock drafts, like professional mock drafts of like, big time networks that have been 10 league teams or 10, 12 team leagues, all running backs, first round. Like, that seems to be the consensus. Like, people are desperate for running backs. So if you're going through your draft and you see running back after running back after running back after running back, we talked about this in wide receivers. Don't take the 6th best running back. Take the number 1 wide receiver. Well, that applies to tight ends as well. Only for a certain time frame, right? There's only going to be a few guys that fall in this category of tight ends where you want to make sure you prioritize them right off the bat. And the only one that should be going in the first round is Travis Kelce. I know I have, we'll go into tiers here in a second. George Kittle and Darren Waller, you nailed my top 3 in the first tier. Darren Waller, Kittle, and Kelce be in the top 3. I wouldn't take Kittle or Waller in the first round. Maybe if it circles around in the round 2 or 3, you get to that point and maybe you think about it. But outside of that, target wide receivers. If Kelsey's there at the end of your first round, hit it, man. Don't be ashamed to be a little bit bold and take that tight end, because that production over the course of a season, of a fantasy football season, makes a difference. You heard Scott talk about these different stats about the difference between the top 2 or 3 and the rest of them. It doesn't matter. Back in the day, tight end didn't matter. You could take a tight end the last 3 picks, and they all averaged about the same. This was always historically the thing. And maybe you had one that stood out you took in the 8th round or the 7th round. Maybe. But that's changed, guys. That's a different story this time. And you got to prioritize. If you see these guys dropping to the latter end of the first round or the second round, it might be worth taking a flyer on.
I did the same thing back in the day with Gronk. When Gronk was above and beyond everyone else, I didn't understand why people didn't value him more. And I took him typically, in the second round, and I won a lot of leagues because he dominated the tight end position way above anyone else that was out there at that time. And further reference, so I'm not saying to take Kelce number 1. If you're the number 1 pick, as I've described, don't take Travis Kelce. But you look at the running back position last year. You have Derrick Henry in standard leagues, dominated 314 points. Now, I don't expect him to do that again this year.
They're going to be
2,000 yards.
They're going to be throwing the ball a lot this year.
Certainly more, and the wear and tear, you got to save him up a little bit. Kamara 294 and Dalvin Cook 293. So those top 3 guys, really, really good. Number 4, 216. So 3 was 293. 4, Jonathan Taylor 216. So if you have the number 4 pick in the draft, and you can take Jonathan Taylor, who had 216 points, or you could take Travis Kelce, who only had 207 last year in a standard league. And you're like, Jonathan Taylor scored more points, so I'll take him. No, because we talked about the number 4 tight end had 112 points. Guess where from 216 to 112 at running back position, you dive down to literally the 33rd ranked running back. Like, the gap after those elite few at running back to where the next level is, and like the competitiveness is just enormous. So unless you can get a Christian McCaffrey, a Dalvin Cook, and probably a Kamara, and granted, this depends also on the league, because I think it's even accentuated if you're in a PPR league or a half-point PPR league, because Kelsey's going to get a ton of catches. So that only plays it up more. But even in a standard league, I'm taking certainly if I have pick 6 and beyond, and Kelsey's there, I'm taking him in the first round, and I'm gonna be thrilled.
Yeah.
And you can call me a homer because I'm a Chiefs fan, but to me, this just makes mathematical sense.
No,
It really does.
It's common sense, and I knew you were going this direction. I had a feeling you were going this way because I've seen these similar numbers and I've been like all over them. But let's dive in though. Let's dive into the tiers. Let's go through this. Yeah. Obviously, you know that the top tier here is Travis Kelce, George Kittle with the 49ers, and Darren Waller with the Raiders. So this is the cream of the crop. These three are the cream of the crop. After this, it drops off massively, right? Yep. As you know, right now we're seeing Kittle drafted average draft position around 9. I mean, that's huge. That's something you never see. If you've been in fantasy football for a while, you don't see that very often. You've been seeing it over the last 2 or 3 years where it's been rising a bit with, you know, like you mentioned, Gronk and Kronk and
That's fun.
And Kelsey. Kronk, you know, from what was that movie, that Disney movie, Emperor's New Groove?
Oh, okay.
Kronk.
Yeah, I didn't know where you're going there.
Yeah,
I got you.
Anyways, I digress. They reside. Kittle and Waller currently reside in the early middle third round average draft position. So you could still get a solid tight end even in the second or third round. Again, you want to really target those guys. So, yeah, that's where we're at. Going into Box in the chat. Can you watch a highlight? Yeah, we can watch some highlights. By the way, oh, Box, thanks for the follow, Box Water.
Appreciate there we go. It. Killing the game tonight.
We are 4 of 3 in followers tonight. Box, thank you for the follow. We are happy to have you as one of our lab rats in the Action Lab. Appreciate it. Yeah, what do you got? You got something specific you want to check out? Let us know. But yeah, so as we're going through this a little bit more, getting into some of the tier 2, you might want to hesitate and maybe pump the brakes a little bit on what you want to do here with your second pick. And Mark Andrews, Kyle Pitts, TJ Hawkinson are 3 guys that you might want to target in that tier 2. Tier 2 usually sees a significant decrease from that tier 1 in fantasy production. That's not to say tier 2 can't break through and finish the season as a top tier, but it's tough to predict, right? You don't know what you're exactly getting from that standpoint. So, you know, you're still getting something you can be comfortable throwing in that starting tight end role. You just don't know if it's going to be a consistent, you know, payoff, right? Kyle Pitts, average draft position is around 51, which is a little too high right now for my taste. He's tough comfortably. He's tough to like fit in with guys like when you could draft a Robert Woods or something along those lines in this range. I would rather go wide receiver. Try to fill out your depth at running back, maybe. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with some of this stuff. But yeah, what are your thoughts here? Again, in this little tier 2, Mark Andrews, Kyle Pitts, TJ Hawkinson, Box. I'll take a look at this here in a second while Scott talks a little bit about this tier 2.
Yeah. Listen, I appreciate people loving Kyle Pitts, and his athletic profile and his ability moving forward is through the moon. I'm going to pump the brakes a little bit on him this early. Usually tight ends year 1 don't throw out huge numbers. And listen, I think people are too excited. Some fantasy football people are like, oh, this is the best tight end we've seen in the draft in a long time. So he's being overvalued a little bit in my mind. The other 2, I agree with the tier, though. I think those are the 3 guys beyond those first 3 to target. Mark Andrews was actually number 2 tight end the prior year in 2019. The problem is he had another tight end on the roster and that did a lot in Baltimore as well. That freed up space for him, and he was a little injury prone last year. So I don't know how much I trust him. I think he'll put up solid, not spectacular numbers. TJ Hawkinson is an athletic freak. I worry about the Detroit team in general, but they're going to be down a lot. So they're going to be throwing the ball a lot. The problem is it's probably Jared Goff throwing him the ball, and that's a concern. I think the coach is a disaster. I think Detroit, as I've talked about, is in line to maybe be the worst team in football this year. So I have concerns. Although I love TJ Hawkinson from a pure talent standpoint, I have concerns on his surrounding talent and what that means for him. But from a pure talent standpoint, I like TJ Hawkinson this year the most because he's had some experience. Kyle Pitts moving forward, but this year I like TJ Hawkinson if you can get him late enough. But like I said, after these first three, I wouldn't touch a tight end for the next prior to round, I don't know, I'm throwing out a number like 8 maybe. Like I'm not touching a tight end after those first three if it were me. That doesn't mean that these guys can't be, and I agree with the tier there, but I have concerns about these guys.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Now, by the way, Boxwater, saw your little highlight video. Looks like you have a little high school highlight video here.
Yeah, I saw the link, and I'm like, this is clearly a high school clip, which I can appreciate.
Yeah, no, I'm loving it, man. Hey, Boxwater, we might throw this up at the end of the stream here. Can't wait to check it out. Don't go anywhere, man. We'll throw it up. We'll have a good time checking it out. Let's see what you got, man. I'm excited to check it out a little bit further. We have a little bit more to get through on this tight end and some of the kicker draft, defensive special team stuff. But don't go anywhere. We're going to highlight it at the end. How about that? Appreciate the follow. Can't wait to check it out here at the very end. Love it, man. Love it. So as we get into some of the tier 3s, now you're getting into some of the ones that like you need to get a little bit more. This is going to be your average tight end starting position here. And maybe like you can count on these guys to be a semi-starter for you for a little bit, but you can't expect them to be consistent. And we start that out with Noah Fant, which I think has the highest ceiling of all these. Noah Fant's already proven that he's been. I'm a Broncos guy, so obviously I'm a big hype train on Noah Fant. But the production is there, man. He's coming up, and he's a big target, and he's a mismatch, guys. He can make some things happen. So keep an eye on him as a sleeper. He might be in that top 2, top 1 tier eventually in his career. He's not there yet. He needs to prove it. Plus, quarterback is kind of a question. So you want to make sure you're pumping the brakes on some of these guys. Also, Tyler Higbee with the Rams, Dallas Goedert with the Eagles, Mike Gesicki with the Dolphins, Logan Thomas with the Washington football team, and Robert Tonyan Jr. has kind of been climbing some boards a little bit with the Packers because, obviously Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball. He likes his tight ends a little bit. So keep an eye on Robert Tonyan to kind of climb some of these. But just a half of these players finished in the top 12 in standard formats last season. Tonyan finished 3rd, Gesicki finished 6th, and Thomas finished 7th. Logan Thomas in Washington. Those 3 will likely see a return to the middle of the pack after breakout seasons, but touchdown luck will have a lot to do with that, right? So you'll have to feel that out a little bit. So keep an eye there on like the touchdown production. When it came to Miami, they brought in Hunter Long, third round of the 2021 draft, while Gesicki will maintain starting tight end role. It feels like the Dolphins are planning to incorporate Long into the offense a little bit more. So keep an eye on that. That's a weird one. You don't want to draft Gesicki too high, and then all of a sudden you get the rug pulled out from under you, and Hunter Long ends up being a little bit more of an impact player for Miami. So keep an eye on that. Obviously, young quarterbacks like to target tight ends a little bit as a safety blanket. Don't get sucked in a little bit too much on a Gesicki when it comes to tight ends. That's just my opinion.
I like Gesicki, but I think it is Gesicki.
Just Gesicki? You know me in name pronunciations, man.
Yeah. Gesicki was actually a guy for me last year that I'd like to target at times in like your weekly fantasy because he caught touchdowns. And I think I actually think I like him a little bit because I think Tua likes to throw the middle of the football field, and that's conducive to a tight end. So I think Gesicki's a nice sleeper later pick in like your tier 3 when you're talking about. You talked about Noah Fant. I worry about Noah Fant.
Okay.
Not from an athletic profile, because I think he athletically is really, really solid. He jumped from his rookie year 562 yards all the way to 673 the next year. So
Did he have more touchdowns though?
No, he had 3 each year, which is real bad. He had 3 touchdowns both year.
Thought he had
And now you're
more than that.
adding back Cortland Sutton. This offense has a lot of other weapons around it that they could throw touchdowns to if
True.
they want. I just don't love Fant blowing up like people think. Like yardage wise, I certainly don't. Maybe his touchdowns, but he's not like a guy when you're inside the 10 you're gonna throw a jump ball to. He's not that type of tight end. He's more the athlete that can break open and do that. He's not your large tight end that you throw a fade route to and make sure he goes up and gets it in the end zone. So he's not a guy that's gonna ever touch a ton of touchdowns. And I worry about him in that offense where they're adding Cortland Sutton back. You have Jerry Jeudy, you have KJ Hamler coming on. You still have Tim Patrick. Like there's a lot of other guys to throw to. I just don't think there's enough to go around for Fant. Dallas Goedert, maybe in Philly. Jalen Hurts probably is another guy that likes to throw the middle of the field when he can. I'm not a big guy with Robert Tonyan. Like he only put up those stats because of the touchdowns. Like his targets were like he had like less than 60 targets last year, and he caught he had 59 targets and caught 52 of them, and then had like 15 touchdowns. Like you just don't see that. You can't historically rely on that. So that's why I'm down on tight ends in general after that. After those first 3 especially, I would not value a tight end for a while and then just hope, like, I don't know, you could get like Blake Jarwin for Dallas and they're going to throw the ball a lot and he's going to be their starting tight end. So he's a piece. Jared Cook's probably going to be the starter with the Chargers. He's underachieved on who he was in his career, but if you're taking him, in the 12th round, take a flyer. I would go flyer rather than overvalue a tight end that hasn't proven he can do it after those first 3. That's my opinion. That's why I think this position is so important to grab one of those first 3, especially I would say one of those first 2, and especially that first one.
You want to sleep better at night knowing you have Kelsey or one of those top tier.
With Kelsey, more consistent than any player in any other position over the last 5 years, and it's not close.
Yeah. So let's dive into just some of these tier 4. And I think we stop at tier 4. I think at that point, it's like you don't know what you're really getting. It's just like plugging and playing with like maybe a certain matchup that might fit. Maybe it's something that you might want to like, think about using as maybe a flex play potentially, but you should have something a little bit better at that point. But if you draft it early, obviously. But tier 4, you have Jonnu Smith, Patriots, Irv Smith Jr., Vikings, Hunter Henry with the Patriots. Patriots do use a lot of tight ends in their offense. The problem is they use multiple tight ends, so you don't know who's going to get the more catches. We've seen that plenty of times with elite tight ends going to New England, and all of a sudden they just fizzle out because they have used like 3 tight ends, and it's like, what? Like, why is this a thing? Blake Jarwin with the Cowboys, you mentioned, could be an interesting situation for them throwing the ball with, that offense. It's going to be a lot more potent this year. Jared Cook, Chargers, you mentioned as well. Another one that could be really good. Rob Gronkowski, I feel like is a boom or bust. I just don't know what you're going to get from him. He could have a huge 3 touchdown game, and then he could have a 0 week for like 3 straight weeks. That's what I feel like with Rob Gronkowski. So I don't.
Someone's gonna draft him off name. So if you drafted Rob Gronkowski, you took him too early.
Yeah, he's like one of those sketchy ones that you're like, you might get him and you might have zero productivity for like 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden you bench him, and he's that guy that gets 3 touchdowns in a week.
Well, let's not forget that they're bringing back OJ Howard,
Yep.
who was a first-round tight end who was hurt last year.
Absolutely.
He's gonna be back in the picture, so he's. Well, I mean, maybe. They have Gronkowski and Cameron Brate. Once again, most loaded roster in the league, just to have a problem at quarterback.
Yeah. Last one in this tier 4 is Evan Ingram with the Giants. They're going to try to throw the ball a little bit more. Obviously, they've used tight ends quite a bit. And Evan Ingram has been able to catch some touchdown passes here and there. He's just not consistent. He failed to live up to the hype in just about every season as a pro, though. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, everyone's hyped him up, and he hasn't really exactly, like, been that guy. So why would this year be any different? But again, that's why he's in tier 4. You don't know how consistent he's going to continue to be. He's always a big name that always comes off the board early. So don't fall into the trap with Evan Ingram either.
Yep.
So that's where we're at with tight ends. We could get deeper, but at this point, we're getting into, you find these guys, whether it's Zach Ertz, OJ Howard, Eric Ebron, Austin Hooper, Gerald Everett with the Seahawks now. All these guys you'll find on the back and forth, on and off the free agent wire. So you'll find them. Don't worry about them. Don't draft them early on or at all.
Targeting late, I'd target like a Logan Thomas or an Irv Smith Jr.
Yeah.
Those are 2 guys that I think have some upside.
Yeah, that's about it. But let's dive in. Let's go into some other strategies here. We're a little over, but we love going overtime. We're going overtime tonight, and that is defense special teams, and that's going to be a little bit more of again, you're taking defense special teams and kickers with your last couple picks. Don't overdraft these positions. Keep those in mind. By the way, Boxwater, I haven't forgot about you. We're going to throw your little video up here a little bit at the end. So hang tight. Don't go anywhere. Defense special teams. Let's go over the top tiers in this grouping here. Baltimore Ravens have consistently been at the top of lists when it comes to defense special teams. They are getting a little bit older, but off the board, they're going around 130th, which is around the 11th round in a 12 team league ish. So again, even the top tier defense special teams isn't going until the second to last round. Don't overdraft defense special teams, guys. I just don't do it. We're going to share our TikTok at the end of this too, which I made fun of just fantasy football drafting in general, but yeah, we'll touch on that, but don't do it, guys. The best defense, I see defensive coming off in like 8th round, 7th, 8th rounds sometimes. People are like overhyping defense. Don't do it, man. Don't overdraft when it comes to this. Ravens are going to, going a few picks, into that 11th round, and all have some decent upside, but none of them, I mean, depending on your rules of your league, you can pick up defenses and play matchups sometimes, right? You do kind of hurt your waiver wire stuff at some points, but if you have no issues and your team's in a good place, pick up a matchup defense where, if, let's say your defense is on bye week, pick up a matchup that maybe that week is favorable. Maybe it's not top tier, like top third of the league, but maybe it's middle of the road where you can get some decent fantasy points. You don't need to overdraft on defense. So again, you got Baltimore Ravens 1, Tampa Bay Buccaneers 2, returning a lot of veterans, Pittsburgh Steelers 3, New England Patriots 4, Los Angeles Rams 5. By the way, do you see Minnesota Vikings in that list, Scotty?
No, we talked about how good they're going to be based off the Athletic. But They were sixth last year in fantasy points on defense.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't even have them in my tier 2. So tier 2, Miami Dolphins has a pretty decent defense. We'll see how that ends up carrying over. Plus that division is not great. So you got to keep in mind divisions, guys. If it's a bad division, defenses might have a better shot at continuously getting good production, right? So a defense or a division like the AFC South, you might want to take a flyer maybe in that 11th round on a Miami Dolphins defense. Washington football team, Buffalo Bills, Indianapolis Colts, Kansas City Chiefs made the list here in my tier 2. They're going to be much improved, and they're playing against some defenses. Or offenses like a Chargers team, still young, Herbert. You got the Denver and the Raiders, right? A lot of teams that are not great offensively, maybe. So Kansas City Chiefs, not a bad team to take a flyer on. And New Orleans, that's a bad division, man. So you mentioned Tom Brady not being as good as you think he's going to be. Maybe you take a flyer on New Orleans defense that's really good. So that's another one you can take just a thought on. Tier 3, you getting into the 49ers, Cardinals, Vikings, Browns, Broncos, Seahawks, Tennessee Titans, and Green Bay Packers. Here, again, it's not going to separate itself enough for you to take these really, really early. See what's best available. Take what you think is going to be the best for your team at that point, and then go with it. If you have a hunch on a certain team, take it, but don't do it before the last couple rounds.
Go
ahead, Scotty.
We're talking about defense. I'm all about matchups on defense. I think it's a huge mistake unless you get a defense that's just on fire, creating turnovers, putting up defensive touchdowns or special teams touchdowns. I wouldn't touch a team. Like last year, the Rams finished number 1 at 151 points. Keep in mind that teams don't, fantasy football rosters don't keep more than one defensive team, and a lot of them switch week to week. So you look at the number 12 ranking last year, it was 106 compared to 151. So you got a 40-point gap. It's almost the same gap between 1 and 2 at tight end last year. So no, I would go complete matchup based on defense, because you can find a team that's playing a bad offensive team that week and just fill it in, because it's a little unpredictable. You're hoping maybe there's teams that sack the quarterback more or create more turnovers, but touchdowns is really where you're going to make your heyday on defense.
True.
And relying on a defense to score touchdowns is a mistake. You just can't rely on it. There's a good amount from year to year of luck factor in there. So I wouldn't touch defense. Defense, I would actually not pick until the last round, because I know I'm switching that every year. I usually, with kicker, pick a kicker, roll with that kicker until their bye week, pick up another kicker, and then probably just stay with that kicker. I'm also indifferent on kicker.
Yeah.
But I would pick defense last. That would be my last round of my draft.
Let's dive into kicker real quick. And, we have a couple things we want to get to. We have Boxwater, who wants to throw out this little video. We'll highlight that. We have a couple things we want to show on our TikTok that we want to promote a little bit. So let's get to that here in a second. But let's just dive into some kickers. But this is literally the bottom of the barrel. Last pick. Don't overdraft kickers either. Guys, I know Justin Tucker is going to be the best for the Ravens. I know Harrison Butker is going to be the best for the Chiefs. That doesn't mean you need to draft them in the 9th round. Get depth at wide receiver, running back. Get depth at tight end. Get backup quarterback. Even is going to give you more value than a kicker. But let's just dive into kickers real quick. Justin,
without looking, if you could name the kicker that finished first in fantasy points last year, I would give you 10 guesses and you wouldn't get it. You wouldn't get it. I didn't even know this guy. I just looked it up. I didn't even know this guy existed.
Seriously?
Yes.
Ooh. Now you got me throwing for a loop.
You could even throw the team out. I give you 10 teams and you wouldn't get it.
Maybe Bills kicker because they had a good season last year.
Third.
Okay. Maybe I'm thinking of the best offenses. Maybe let's go Rams. LA Rams.
No. I don't know if they had injuries, but the top guy was 30th. They might have had injuries.
Okay. Bucker, Chiefs.
Yep, 13th.
With an offense like that? Yep. Man. The only other ones I could think of maybe are shit, man. Now you got me thrown through a loop. I'm thinking of the best maybe so I feel like the AFC North, they kick a lot of field goals. So maybe Justin Tucker? I mean, obviously he's
tied for 7th.
Man, okay. Let's just hit it. Hit me with it.
Jason Sanders, the kicker for the Miami Dolphins. Like, there's no rhyme or reason. Miami wasn't a great offensive team by any means last year.
What?
The number 2 kicker was Young Ho Koo for Atlanta. Like, these aren't teams that are prolific offenses. It's just random at kicker. People don't get it. Like, hey, yeah, some years your offense scores touchdowns, and that is great for your offense outside of your kicker if you have them in fantasy. Some years they settle for field goals. I would not ever invest in a kicker beyond the last round.
It's a crapshoot, man.
I mean, you have to have one on the roster. You could even not take one in your draft, and then prior to the season, take one off the waiver wire and release a guy from your team. I would actually do that before taking a kicker in the draft.
It's a crapshoot, man. That's why you don't only take this with the, second to last, if not last pick in the draft. So don't go crazy with this, guys. There's not even, I don't even think I have tiers for this. I just have rankings. And those rankings don't mean anything. They literally don't mean a damn thing.
If you would have told me Jason Sanders was the kicker for Miami last year, I would have called you a liar. And he finished first in fantasy.
Yeah. I mean, I've
never heard of him.
Usually I think of the Saints, the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Bills, like those high flying offenses, and Packers maybe, Mason Crosby has always been Colorado boy, always been, good. I mean, honestly, yeah. I mean, outside of that, you're like,
what I will say is Jason Sanders, I just looked up his stats. There's something to be said for taking a warm weather kicker or an indoor kicker.
True.
If you're especially late in the year when the weather starts getting worse in places. Jason Sanders went 8 of 9 from 50 plus yards last year. So that's no joke.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, man. Don't do it. You got your marching orders. Know what you want with your fantasy football tight ends. If you have a chance to get it, man, get it. In the first round, do it, man. I promise you won't be disappointed. Let's go ahead. Let's take a look at this video sent in by Boxwater. You know what? We want to give you some love, man. You hit.
Excited. I don't even know what position we're looking at.
I don't even know either here. So let's take a look and see what we got.
We'll
and
critique the game tape.
Yeah, let's do it to it. And we're gonna throw this in here on the bottom right hand corner of our screen. Let me get it situated here and format it the right way. But let's.
I knew the link was a high school link because I got a buddy who's a college football coach, so he sent me some tape on some different guys. Oh, QB. Okay.
Let's go. Okay. Let's cut it up. Let's cut it up. Hey, Boxwater, I want to see you break this down with us. Let's do it. Let's have some fun with it and show us what you got, my friend. Love the fact that you're part of the stream here, so hopefully you can keep joining. But okay, all right.
It's a nice throw right there. Obviously, these are highlights, but I like it. I like that they have to pinpoint who the quarterback is. As if I didn't know. Nice. That looks like the same wide receiver. I like him as well. So
I
maybe
mean,
that's a package deal.
maybe we
He looks to be
just
beating guys. I don't know. I don't know where this is from. Like, what state is this at? That
Boxwater.
matters a little bit, right?
Boxwater, let us know, man. I want to see. Yeah, let us know some details and backstory.
Oh, a little athleticism there. I like it. Even fool the
Oh.
cameraman. Even fool the cameraman. So can make some plays with his legs. Nashville. Okay. Nice. Found that right away.
Montgomery Bell Academy. All right, love it, man, love it. All right, let's see what else we got
RQB.
here. Okay,
Left guard. Okay. I mean, the tape looks good.
where are we thinking?
And by the way, left guard, I like the pocket, and that throw's insane. That's a throw you don't see in high school very often, right there. That was on the borderline from the other hash. Like, that's a legit throw right there. A lot of these are the middle of the field. That last one was a tough throw and a tough catch. So
We got some
you don't
good-
see that in high school very often.
Got some good highlights here. Red zone play here. Let's see what we got.
And I'm not joking when I say this pocket's nice too. So nice work from the offensive line, including the left guard there.
Little scramble. Okay.
See, I would have. That was interesting vision. I would have cut that right up the field, and he cut left, and it worked out.
This is our QB. I'm a left guard. So, hey, you're praising the guard play. You're praising the offensive line play.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, there we go, man. We're seeing some good stuff here.
I don't know. We're not from Tennessee, so I don't know like the level of, in general, of football talent from Tennessee. I'm not very familiar with that from the high school level.
Should we be getting more into high school football, man? Maybe we should get in some high school football highlights. Give some love to all of our
quick delivery there on a, I don't know, read option. Like, ooh, this is a stacked box right here. A lot of guys on the line. Okay.
beautiful.
Made the right read. Like, not a crazy tough throw there, but found the open guy, like, and protected beyond.
Saw there a lot of cool stuff going on there. So Boxwater, thanks for showing us the clip, man. Our first game is Friday, and it's a rated game of the week in Tennessee. Man, hey, you know what? Keep coming back. You know what? We'll show some more highlights. Let's have some fun with it. Let's do it.
Good luck in that first game, man.
Yeah, no, we're gonna make. Hey, you want to show us some highlights of that game? We would love to see it. We want to support you just like you support us, and that's what we're gonna do here in the Action Lab. So thank you so much, Boxwater, for throwing that out there. We love it. So appreciate the love. Hope you're doing well out there, man. It's a little late out there. It's 10 o'clock Mountain Time. It's so I appreciate you staying up for us. So appreciate that. Real quick, I want to show one little highlight here. Bear with me here while I set it up. And this is our latest TikTok that we threw out. So hit us up on our TikTok channel based off of the fantasy football stuff we've been throwing out there. We really wanted to make sure that, we put you in a good spot. So here's our TikTok. Let me adjust the volume. The volume is ridiculous right now. It might be loud for you. Just turn down your volume right now. Anyways, that's where we're at. We have a bunch of social media stuff going on here. Hit us up on social media. All of our Action Lab live on TikTok, Action Lab Twitch, on Twitter. We have Instagram going on, Action Lab IG. So we appreciate all the love from all of our social media platforms. Scotty, we hit 4 followers tonight, my friend. We crushed. We appreciate. We're small school, right? We're not big yet, but we're on our way, and we appreciate each and every one of you. We can't do this show without you guys. We love each and every one of you. The fact that we hit 4. Our goal is usually 2, and we hit 4 tonight. So we love all the hype. Sports, tell them, hey, let them know where we're at. We love to talk sports with all of you guys.
Keep in mind, this is always a conversation. It's not us telling you exactly what's happening. We want to have a conversation in that chat. So Tell us your thoughts. Like, we feed off that. Like, I love it. Like,
But
when we don't have the chat active, like, it makes me sad. Like, I want the chat active. I want to have that conversation. I want to have some fun with the people out there. So, this is an interactive space for people that love sports, and let's just talk about it.
by the way, Boxwater shot that link in the chat. Like, see, that's the thing, Boxwater throwing up some links and stuff. We love to, share your stories. Marcel Reed, quarterback, 6'5", 165 pounds, Montgomery Bell Academy, class of 2023. He has some interest from Georgia, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, that are,
no joke.
some warm interests. They're not official,
Sure.
right? They're warm interests. And then you have some from maybe some cool interest from lighter interest from Alabama, Baylor, Florida. These aren't joke teams, man. Hey,
I mean, what I'm looking at, I just looked it up. He has an offer from Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, Vanderbilt, Baylor, like, with Georgia, Tennessee, and Vanderbilt being like warm leads. So, I mean, he's getting offers.
I'm telling you. Hey, you know what? We didn't discover, any of these, right? We didn't discover you, Marcel, but
Certainly not.
at the same time, I want to give you some love because eventually, if you make it big, we highlighted you here on the Action Lab, and we can't wait to see you grow as an athlete, grow into some big time college program, and maybe even the NFL. So love it. That's what we're here for. That's what the Action Lab is built for. Sports, talking some sports, having some fun.
Boxwater, where's he headed? You have an inside track. If you had to pick a school for him, where's he going? Let us know.
I can't wait. I can't wait to see.
And we won't take that as like if you're wrong, no big deal. But
No one watches this show.
You're in Tennessee, so maybe you're like, hey, he's gonna be a Vol, which would be cool. Like,
Hey.
be interesting to see where you think he's going.
Yeah, no, love it. But while you're answering that question, Boxwater, appreciate everything. Want to give big shout outs to everyone who participated in the stream tonight, as we always do. Belly for Prez, thank you for popping in. Gold Glover, Deb in the Facebook chat. Boxwater, thank you for popping in, sharing all those different highlights. We love all of it. So thank you so much. Thank you for all of our followers who threw in Boxwater, Chipotle, JM, Landon Meyer, and who else was it? Follower Love in Facebook chat. Thank you so much for all of the love and all of the follows. This is the biggest show we've ever done, I think, and it's only going to get better. He kind of wants to go to Auburn, but he has done official visit, not an offer yet. I think Louisville might be smart. Okay, Louisville, that's not a bad program to go into.
Well,
and
Lamar Jackson footsteps.
yeah, love it, man, love it.
Matt Mold.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, we're live every Wednesday and Sunday. So, and by the way, we're going to have more college football coming up even further as we get closer to the college football season. So make sure you're here. We have Brandon, who he subbed in for you, Scotty, at one point. He's going to be coming back with all of us. We're going to be talking some college football, kind of figure out good fits. Maybe we show him that video, Boxwater. We show him what you got and see what he could potentially do. But he might go big with Alabama, depending on Bryce Young this season, probably because it's a junior this year. Okay, all right. Love it, love it. Hey, man, plan it out. I'm sure he's going to make the right choice. I mean, you obviously have a lot of great decisions here, so fantastic to hear. We support you from the Action Lab. Love it. Appreciate all of the support here tonight. So
yeah, appreciate it, and good luck this season, man.
Good luck this season. We will see you back here. Hopefully, I got my days mixed up last week. I thought it was Sunday coming up. It's Wednesday. We have Sunday show coming up here very, very soon. So make sure you're here. We have a lot to cover in the sports world, so make sure you don't miss out. We have some surprises for you potentially too. Hit us up on all our social media platforms, and we can't wait to talk to you again here Sunday. Have a great rest of your week and enjoy the weekend. We will see you back here on Sunday night. Boxwater, our left tackle, who is a senior. Well, by the way, Boxwater, are you getting into a good spot? I want to like that. That's
a fair question.
That's
he's hyping. I like that he's hyping all his teammates. So, if nothing else, he's a team player, right? Like,
there we go. There we go.
Everything he can to magnify everyone else on the roster.
But yeah, Boxwater, we'll see you back here Sunday. Everyone else, thank you so much for all the love. We will see you back here as well. Have a good night, guys. We love each and every one of you, and we will, can't wait to be back in the lab here.